Yeah. Man, this life insane. Got some money, but I always stay the same. But I never fuck with y'all, you niggas lame. If you making moves, you know it's love with me. Yeah, thought that I would change. See, that negativity is not the way. Seen you niggas try to go and run my place, but it'll never ever lead you to my place. Yeah, thought that I would change. Got some money, but I always stay the same. But I never fuck with y'all, you niggas lame. Yeah. Chasing the billion, if I'm in your city, I gotta get paid for the show. Here for a minute, get litty, sip Henny, then I hop right back on the road. This lover was nothing, I can't even focus if it don't do shit for my goals. When niggas was gone, I turned to the mold and got us up out of the hole. Look at them dipping and slide. I got them all alive. You see the smile on my face? The merch is sold out for a while. It ain't a nigga out here in the scene like me that could tell you the truth. Took a few grams, got out the jam, say man, do what you do. Yeah. Got some money, but I always stay the same. But I never fuck with y'all, you niggas lame. Yeah.
Hey Black Child, what's up? I'm just calling to let you know that I'm happy and I'm proud of what you're doing. You know I'm always going to be your number one fan. As I always say, you can do it. There's no such thing as can't, because you could. But anyway, I'm just letting you know, when you come out, I want you to play my number one song, Shorty. You know I can't sing like you can, but I'm letting people know how you do. Later, love you. Peace out.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It's a new day. We got a new vibe, new look, new everything. New. On that new. Appreciate everybody for being here. Cliff is in here with us. We're in the Virtual Evolution Lab. Yeah, we're gonna rock for a little bit. I think we've got till 2 o'clock or so. Let's see. I didn't pull up the restream chat. That'd have been a good idea, huh? So I could see people talking. All right, UC Love is in the house. Appreciate you. Lena, appreciate you. Carrie Ann Chrysler, good to see you. I know I probably shouldn't be telling people. No, I'm just kidding. James Apperson just went live, so I know some people I'm sure will be over there. But yeah, it's good to see everybody here. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna get into some shape mating. Cliff, do you wanna show us some cool stuff, Cliff?
What? I ain't got nothing.
You don't have cool metal. You didn't make a metal spaceship over the weekend or anything like that?
No. I advanced slightly on a commission piece, but nothing.
All right. All right. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I guess it looks like my stuff ran. All right. That's cool. So I ran some small stuff, and then I realized it wasn't really that long. I don't know. Let's see what we got. So what we should have in here, Cliff, basically is 10 replicates of, I think I went up to like 10,000. And so I don't know what I figured to do. Here's what I need to do, just so you know. I need to run this stuff all on the HPCC, right? So we can do sufficient blase. But we were a little bit nervous last week because...
Well, I mean, that's not necessary yet. What you need to do is you need to have a long enough run that the thing stabilizes to a steady state. And then...
make sure that
and that steady state makes sense.
Okay, well that's what I tried to do with this, right? So there's 10 runs of 10,000 in these 4 conditions. Power 1, switch cost 1.4 and switch cost 10. And power 4, switch cost 1.4 and switch cost 10. I was going to run more, but the idea was to get something done and then, look at it and then run more once we know everything's good. The other thing I was thinking of is it feels like, and I don't know if this is true, are we going to have to write custom plotting code for this? Because we have to look at that distribution of shapes, preferences, and food scores over time?
Eventually, yeah. We'll get there.
Okay. But yeah, all right, I got my code pulled up. Let me know what you're thinking I should do. Oh, yeah, Carrie Ann, I hope you're feeling better. Carrie Ann had a bad chef salad, so hope you're feeling better. But yeah, go ahead, Cliff.
No. I mean, you show me what you got.
So I don't know. I literally just read.
What is confusing to me is we should expect them to differentiate on size. To differentiate on shape, and then the only way that they can signal to one another is by what food they eat. And so then we would assume that they're going to start eating a food that's commiserate with their shape preference. Well, I mean their shape. So the preference for color will correlate with the food consumed by the other shape.
Right.
And we weren't seeing that. We were seeing the shapes developing, but everyone was eating the same food types. And so then we were saying, well, why are they not developing the shape preferences? Or I should say,
right. And we weren't sure. And then we weren't sure if it
why are they not developing the food preferences so that they can have this higher level of fecundity?
Right. And we weren't sure if maybe it was the switch cost.
Well, one issue was
long enough.
if the preference is linked with the shape, right? So shape and preference are both coming out of the genome,
right?
And if they are linked, that should actually be a good thing because their preference should be linked to their trait. But if their behavior was also linked to that, then they wouldn't be able to differentiate them, right? They need to be able to. Is that true? No, they need to be able. They need to have a genetic linkage between their preference, their behavior, and their shape. Actually, all three of them need to be linked.
Right, because you would expect them to be eating food that makes them the color that they want to be linked, but it should be linked to their shape. But yeah, we just weren't seeing them do it. My concern was that, and I think this is something you had brought up before, was which you don't seem as convinced of now, which is that they might just start doing this and then they're just not changing, but you just think there's such a low pressure because we didn't make it. It's so easy to change your frickin' preference that you don't think that made a whole lot of sense, right? Because you were saying it's just more efficient, right? They should eventually figure this out. Let's see what we got. Is there a particular condition you think I should look into first?
No, I mean, well, the higher cost, higher benefit should give them, bigger cause. So I would assume that high switch cost and high power is going to be where we expect to see it.
All right, so let's go here. Let's just pick any of them. Let's pick a snapshot. Open with, doesn't matter. Yeah. Oh, Cliff, remember I told you I got to do that thing for, Mike wants me to get that thing, that's in really good shape. That's what I spent most of the last week doing. I actually think I could probably just submit it, but I'll fine tooth comb it a couple more times, to make sure I'm not embarrassing myself, but I think it's ready to go, more or less. It should be an A-Life submission, Cliff. All right.
What is it going to be?
A dissertation chapter. Remember I said Mike wants one of my dissertation chapters submitted this month? Yeah, I think it's just going to be my adaptation chance and history paper into
I see.
in the A-Life. All right. But, all right, so let's see what's going on here. All right, let's do our little gig. So we're going to do this. Not the right thing. That's the right thing. Data sort. Going to sort by shape. Okay. There's the shape. Now they should switch about halfway through. They do. We got a random little mutated guy in there. But we got pretty much negative 992157, right? And 968627. So pretty much two shapes, extreme ends of the spectrum. That's what we'd expect. All right. And now we want to look at their preferences. Everybody prefers random. What the hell?
What's up with that?
My only thing is it prevents zero fecundity with the with the wrong shape.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what let's see what they're eating.
We know what it should be doing. So let me see your settings world. Are you running them all together or are you running them independently? Probably you're running them all you're probably running them independently.
Settings world. What setting do you want to see?
Set. Scroll down. What's your population size? Do you know?
100.
All right, it's going to be too small. Oh, that's actually really small.
100.
Yeah, it's tiny for this.
I was gonna run at 1,000, but then I just didn't know if it was gonna take a lot longer.
Yeah, set the evaluation time to like 60, and then up the population size to like 1,000. Let's see how slow that runs. So the problem is that yeah, that's fine. 60 is fine.
So evaluation time 60, if I'm getting this right, is just run each thing 60 times instead of 400 to get their averages.
Well, no, that's run them for 60 time steps per evaluation. The evaluation per generation is how many lifetimes they get. So it's like evaluation time is like if we were running rats through a maze.
Yeah.
The evaluations per generation would be the number of times we put them in the maze.
And then the average
would be like
how long they get to scored.
Yeah. Like how long do we give them per maze is the 60.
Yeah. So basically at the end of the 60, let's say the 60 time steps, that decides your score, whether you finish or not. Right.
Yeah. And so you could set evaluation per generation to 2, and then they're going to run for 120, but there's going to be a reset in between.
Got you.
But this is good because 60 is long enough that they're going to run out of food if we have them all in the same. Well, and actually, we should just change this and change the population size and try running it again.
Okay, and then so settings here.
CFG up there, and then pop set it to like 1,000. Because the problem is with 100, you just can't maintain genetic diversity. Across.
Yeah, because it's just too small. So that's what I was thinking. So maybe it's like a founder effect at 100, right? Like somebody gets the right shape or something, and.
I mean, look. Here's the thing. If you have variable fitness, then what's going to matter is being high fitness disgeneration with small population sizes, right? Like you being high fitness this generation is going to be the most important thing. Like the averages go away.
Yeah.
Because we have bad sampling because we have a small population size.
Right. So all right. So look, let's all right. So Do you want me to
just run this?
What I normally do is I just remove everything and then just run it again.
Yeah, just run. You could just run it here. Just run it with the power 4 and
like that. Oh, you mean just run Mabe?
Just run it. Yeah, just run it here. We don't need multiple replicates. We just need this one.
Okay. So like this Mabe settings star.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your power and stuff is set to.
Oh, yeah. We got to check all that. All right, so cool. Let's see. Power, we want the function power to be 4. And then the other thing was the switch cost, right? So that would be settings world, switch cost set to 10. That's what we want. So this should be good, right? Power 4, switch cost 10.
Okay.
And then the settings was population size 1,000, and then we set that thing to like you want it, and that was in world. No, yeah, world evaluation time. It's the first time we've manipulated that. But all right, cool. Mabe settings star. Let's go. So it'll take a little while, right? Because that's a little bit of because what is it running to 10,000?
Well, we don't have to let it get to 10,000. We just have to let it run.
Okay.
I mean, we can peek it. So if you grab another window, we can peek at it while it's running.
Okay. What do you do? Just like a new terminal?
Yeah.
Let's see.
You really have to do it outside your IDE, though.
Oh, you meant like no? You can just do another one in here. Go ahead.
All right, that's fine. So if you navigate to that directory, you can look at those. You can like cat those files or tail. It's better is tail those files while it's running, and then we can see how things are progressing.
Oh, all right. Show me the tail again. Command. It's
just do tail pop.csv. I'll show you the last 10 lines. And if you do -n, it'll show you. You can set the number of lines. Let's see. Oh, too many V's.
Dash, let's say 10.
But the n has to go before the file. So it's -n space 10 or -n space 20. 10 is the default.
Right. And so that's just showing me the.
Yeah, and so if you do head, if you just do head without a -n, that'll just show us you can do head -n1, and then that'll tell us the columns. So the fourth from the last is score. So, and then third from the last is shape av. So shape av but shape av doesn't necessarily tell us anything.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it does tell us.
We have to look at the snap. Well, we have to look at the snap.
Yeah.
You can just tail one of the snapshots, and we can see if do the same thing at one of the snapshots, and then see.
All right. I'm just gonna. I'm gonna go in here. So we gotta wait till 1,000.
We won't get a snapshot till we get to 1,000. So we just have to wait.
All right, Cliff. You heard anything on the internet that pissed you off lately?
On the internet, no. No, the internet's fine.
Cliff, you know what it sounds like lately? Nothing to show us. No internet gossip. Cliff, it sounds like you've been working. Have you been working, Cliff?
I'm just...
Cliff, you've been trying to graduate, Cliff.
No, weird. No, I'm not. Oh, fuck no. Graduate? What are you talking about? Graduating for chumps. No, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I got you. All right, Cliff, you got to give us, there's one thing I'm going to force you to talk about today, no matter how antisocial you feel like being, and that is the motherfucking midterms, Cliff. It's tomorrow's election day. You know how political, Cliff, everybody's got to vote. Did you vote yet? Are you going to vote?
I got to go. I got to drop off my absentee ballot tomorrow.
All right,
I want to do it in person.
But
later today. I'm either going to go later today or tomorrow.
All right, but you are going to vote. Okay, okay. You're not voting Republican. Just pretend you just don't tell me if you're.
That's a personal choice. It's my personal choice to I'll put it this way. I for the vast majority of my selections, I have only selected to fill in one bubble.
There you go. I'm gonna say I'm with you on that. But pay attention to those initiatives this year, right? There's very important ballot initiatives this year, Cliff.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'd like it to vote.
Yeah, I would like to know where you're getting your money.
Yep.
And you can have longer terms in compensation for that.
Sure. Yep.
Yes. I don't want to be arrested if I bring someone to an abortion clinic. I keep forgetting what the third one was.
Public safety.
No, that's Lansing.
Oh, that's local. Okay, the other one is permanent absentee voter list. That one was huge. That's why you don't get the stupid application. That stupid application pissed me off.
Well, not just that, but 9 days of voting before the election.
Also, more early voting.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. So those are actually right. Those are three important initiatives. Yeah. It was. Yeah. It was yes on all.
Yes, and yes, please.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm satisfied. No, but all right. So, Cliff, here's the story, real quick, and then we'll jump into Mabe. So, I was pissed, right, because I put myself on the thinking. I'm thinking Michigan had a permanent absentee voter list, right? And I thought I was on that list, right? So to my dismay, I finally broke down and called the city clerk's office, right? And I'm like, where's my ballot, right? And they explained to me, sorry, sir, you're on the permanent absentee voter application list, right? That very initiative that's on the ballot this year. And so I'm like, I roll, right? Because you know me, Cliff, I'm in recluse because of COVID. I don't want to go deal with Michiganders just to cast a vote against Michiganders.
Yeah.
So I decide, all right, I got to go to the Foster Community Center. Now, luckily for me, it's literally around the fucking corner, Cliff. Because I'm right in that East Side neighborhood, that little elementary school or whatever. It's like right over there. So I walk over there. But I'm already feeling like Michigan voting is on some bullshit because they should have just sent me my ballot in the mail. And I get in there, Cliff, and there's three people in here. Well, four. It's the sweet little old white lady, and she is the poll worker, right? And there's two other sweet little old white ladies. Look like they in their 80s or 90s, Cliff. I'm talking old, right? And they're just in the back, you know, spread apart voting, minding their business. And then there's good old traditional Republican fucktard dude over to my right, and he's off voting. So I go up to the lady, and I'm explaining the situation to her. She's giving me the rundown. Also, I had my passport with me, right? So she's checking my ID and everything. And here comes Republican fucktard guy wants to stand up, Cliff, in the middle of a polling place. And he looks like everybody's fucked up racist uncle. I always say the perfect way to picture this guy is, remember, he's like the old guy. He's like in his 50s or 60s. He looks like he was in a biker gang, but he can't ride a motorcycle. That guy, that's him, okay? Right, the long gray hair and the beard and everything, can't ride shit. He goes, and the thing that really gets me the most is, since when did murder become a right? And my man literally launches into a spiel about his pro-life stance in the middle of the polling place, Cliff. When
was this?
Y'all, when was this? Thursday? It had to be Thursday. I decided to get this shit Thursday or Friday.
So wait. What were you doing? You were going into what?
To vote. Because what happened was, remember, I had the absentee thing, so I called the clerk's office, and I'm like, crap, it's not going to be enough time. Because number one, I couldn't find my license. I'll have a passport, so I can't just punch in my license number in the website. So I'm like, all right, now I got to do something. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go to the Foster Center, and I'm like, let's go now because it's Thursday. It's the middle of the day. You know, it's early. Let's go get this done. So it was either Thursday or Friday. Y'all had that. Check on the stream. I forgot. I did a stream right afterwards. And then.
Wait, but you could vote on Thursday, or you were dropping off your absentee ballot on Thursday?
No, I went. You could vote. Yeah, I could vote. I went right into the polling place. And so this
here,
is
in Michigan.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had early voting. Well, I don't think we have. No, my polling place is only open on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, no, I went right into the polling place and voted. But what was annoying was
but that guy can't do that.
There you go. It's illegal.
That's illegal. That's illegal.
Very illegal.
I lived in California. I was in Oakland. I lived in Oakland, California. Okay, and I got up when Obama was first term. I got up that morning, put on my Obama, whatever the hell year it was, T-shirt, and I walked down to my local polling place, which is 2 blocks away, and everybody in that place is black. And there's a woman at the door, this older woman, and she's like, I'm really sorry. You can't wear that in here. You can't even wear that within 100 feet of the doorway. And I'm like, oh shit, right? Because you can't promote for a politician.
Or a policy.
And those people took it so serious.
Even in Obama, yes. Even Obama's black ass, take that out of here. Right, take that shit out of here. Because they don't want anything to be seen as inappropriate, especially with that.
I turned it off. I turned it inside out. I pulled it back on. She went, yep, that'll work.
Yeah. And Cliff, I explained this to people because I used to work elections. A lot of people did. It's the same thing. It's for candidates. It's for polling people. It's for everybody. Yeah. So everybody knows this. Now, mind you, what I told you, this guy's a Republican fucktard who looks like a biker, but he can't. What do you know? He's been voting his whole life. He knows this. He knows this is wrong. He knows this is illegal.
Yeah, if I did it, they should have just said, you can't. You can go outside the polling place. You can go 100 feet away from the.
Now here's what happens.
You can say whatever you want, and people can ignore you. But you can't do it in here. And if he keeps doing it, they got to call the.
Here's what happens. He starts his rant. He goes for like a minute or so because you could tell he was really passionate about it, right? And so what happens, as soon as he like basically took a breath, right? The poll worker said to him very kindly, she said, "Sir, you're not allowed to discuss politics here, or whatever." She said, "But if you give me a place and time," she said, "I'd love to meet you somewhere else to discuss any of these issues," which was her being way on some Midwestern overextension niceness type of shit, right? But she did. She and y'all. And then what happened was he kind of steamed off and calmed down, and then he stormed off, right? But she was very apologetic to the rest of us, and I told her, I was like, "Nah, you cool. It's all good. We're all trying to get through this, and you know, we all would have done the right." Because I think she felt bad maybe that she didn't say more or call the police, and I was like, "Nah, you cool. Like we all just trying to get through this, right?" I felt so bad for her, and it was fine. And I told Uncle Bobby, Gin and Truth, the story over the weekend, and he was saying like he's the type like he would have really spoken up because what that guy did was really illegal, right? He could have been in a lot of trouble.
I mean, look, the truth of the matter is, I would like to live in a world where you tell the guy, and then if he keeps doing it, you're like, you really got to stop. And if he keeps doing it, then you're like, all right, look, this is going to go bad. And then it's like, okay, third strike, this has gone really bad, right? Like if she talked to him, and then he doesn't stop, and she's like, all right, look, I'm going to call the police if you don't stop. And then if he keeps going, and the police show up, and the police are like. And then he does it in front of the police. At that point, I'd be like, okay, now we're done. Like you've had ample warning. I saw a YouTube video. So it wasn't even YouTube. It was a Reddit post. So some guy, he's legally blind. He literally was walking home from jury duty. So he went to jury duty and he got excused. And he had to walk to jury duty and it was dark out. And so he had a walking cane. And he's walking home. He was dismissed from jury duty. And some cops stop him because he's got something in his back pocket. And they're like, what do you got in your back pocket? Because they think maybe it's a gun. And then maybe they want to see if he has a license to carry a gun. but it's not a gun. And they see immediately it's his walking cane. It's like folded up. It's like folded up walking cane. And then they like, he's like, I don't need to tell you who I am. And there's nothing illegal about carrying a walking cane. And they double down and they end up arresting the guy and putting him in the back of the squad car. I didn't resist arrest or anything like that. He just wasn't being cooperative, because as soon as they determine that that's not a gun, like that's it, it's over, you know? And so like that's the opposite side of policing, where it's like 0 strikes, you're out. I'm a very 3 strikes, you're out. Like, I mean, if you're violent, then 1 strike, you're out. Yeah. But if you're non-violent, 3 strikes, you're out. Like, you know.
Now, what I would say about this is, sorry,
it was just so weird. Like that one was just so weird, because you're like, the hell, like, this guy didn't actually do anything wrong. You guys escalated this for no reason. So I get that, but I don't know. I would have been in a weird place.
Well, I've been in that guy's situation.
I think when that guy started talking, I would have turned to the poll, the person working the poll. And I think I would have said, I don't know Michigan law, but in California, what this guy's doing right now is illegal. Like, while he's talking, I would have said that to him.
Right.
Like, I would have been like, I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't know. Michigan law may be different, but in California.
Well, here's a couple of things. Number one, I'm thinking to myself, literally first thing I thought to myself was, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. Number 2, I thought to myself, holy shit, is this voter intimidation? But number 3, it was a really weird position, guys, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not this way publicly anymore. I was scared shitless. You guys can remember, I am super paranoid about COVID. I did not want to be out in the first place. I don't want to talk. I want to get in this polling place and out of this polling place as fast as humanly possible. I'm literally thinking to myself, y'all, if I can get in the polling place door and out the polling place door in under 15 minutes, that is absolutely mission goal number 1, right? And it was before I walked in, right? So I'm walking in, masked up. I'm the only reason I'm having conversation, a little brief, small talk with the lady at the table. Why? I'm trying not to make her day awkward, right? So when this guy speaks up, we all go silent. And to be honest, it was so weird, because in that moment, I was freeze. If it was fight, flight, or freeze, I'm freeze. Flight further inconveniences me, right? And has me back here or whatever the fuck. Fight has me here longer, right? We all went freeze, and hopefully he shuts the fuck up. Now, to her credit, she let him speak his little piece, right? You know, we always remember these things dramatically. She didn't escalate him or agitate him, but he didn't take over. But he did. He spoke for whatever he said, his little few paragraphs or whatever. And then she said, "Sir, you can't do this here," right? And then I think if he would have kept going, to your point, it would have escalated. Once he said that, he kind of realized he couldn't keep going. He said whatever his last few exasperated sentences were, whatever. Oh, I'm just frustrated, whatever. And then he walks off. And I think it would have escalated further had he stayed and made it even worse. But my thing is, of course, you guys got to understand exactly what Cliff said. It's totally illegal. It's totally inappropriate. He knows this. And the other thing that it hit me messed up, y'all, because technically, I'm in that situation, right? I'm one of these people. I'm talking about the older ladies in the place, y'all, but I'm in the same situation them older ladies are in. I'm here. I've got some particular vulnerabilities. I've also had some issues and confusion with my voting process, right? And that's what these centers are here for. I used to work the polls. I've been in this, ladies. I was a challenger for Cory Booker, right? I did 5:45 in the morning, right? To challenge and check everybody's IDs and stuff. So I've been in these people's shoes, right? And it's like you're literally there just to help people vote. And on that day, y'all, I needed her help voting, right? Let's not get this out of twisted. I'm not in any different position than them old ladies was. And I got COVID risk factors, right? I'm bipolar. That's a risk factor. I have a history of smoking. That's a risk factor. I've got family history of fucked up shit with lungs. Yeah, right? So we're all in this shit together. And my point is, this is what people are dealing with all across America. and we see the episodes on TV where somebody brought a gun. But we was watching something over the weekend, Cliff, and people were covering their license plates. People were going to the polling place and they're covering their license plates so that these crazy Republican trash aren't doxing them or whatever. So this is craziness, right? This is mass craziness that's happening everywhere all the time. Go ahead.
No, it's just, whatever. We're broken. We're broken. I don't know how else to put it other than we're broken. Well, the thing is, we're economically broken too. The break. You can't just say like we're politically broken, because the reason we're politically broken is because we're economically broken. Right. The fact.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To me, all of this is going to stem down to the fact that we have billionaires. And I know that sounds like a gross oversimplification, but the fact
that hoarding limited resources. We're biologists, right? It's pretty simple.
Who can hoard so much resources that they can buy the news, they can buy how information is distributed, and they can just own that and monopolize that. And enough people are stupid enough to listen to it. But like, this is why in my opinion, this is why it's so out of control.
So it's not even that there's the competition between the population. Certain individuals in the population are literally defining the environment for their own advantage. So it's
there's a massive. There are profit motives. There are ways to make a profit by supporting the left. But the truth of the matter is, the ways to make a profit by supporting the right, by being on the right, are vastly greater. Anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to steal you.
So Cliff, you know that after the Hovind debate, there were people, especially on the right, joking about maybe Donnie and Kent brought me off. And literally my new defense to that, if I was brought off by the creationist, I'd have way more subscribers. Come on, let's be real now. Right? That's my new defense. Of course I wasn't paid off, because I'd be getting paid way more. Come on now. The grift is so much stronger over there. Go ahead.
No. It's just, I just look at this stuff and it kind of drives me up the wall, because it's so, give me a minute. I'm going to be right back.
I got 4,000 going here. So when you get back, we'll pull up the data, and thanks for your time, man.
All right, cool.
Yeah. I wanted to get Cliff's input here, especially you guys know tomorrow's election day, right? So for anybody that hasn't, let me go to this new scene. Let's check out one of our new scenes. Hey, baby. Yeah, what's up, baby? Yeah, that's right. We live in that virtual insanity. Oh, that's beautiful. Come on now. Come on. That scene. My new scenes, look, I got so many new scenes for y'all. I ain't even gonna know what to do, but this new scene flies shit. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But look, this is what we call get out the vote time. When you work in a campaign, that last weekend, and then them couple of days is everything is ramping up, and then of course your official Go TV operations, which just means get out the vote. The national news has been sort of talking about get out the vote efforts a lot the last few elections, but it's something that's been talked about at every level of actually organizing campaigns for a long time. But yeah, that's what everything is today. Yeah, it makes sense, baby. And
this makes sense.
I'm gonna be texting friends and loved ones, myself later on today, and just doing the same thing, reminding them that it's time to get out there and vote. All right, Cliff, let's go ahead and I guess we could pull.
I wanted to
the snapshot. Go ahead.
While you're pulling that up. So not that you need it, but I was away not this weekend, but the weekend before. I was in North Carolina, went to a wedding. It was very nice. It was the first time I got on a plane in the modern era.
Oh yeah. How was it?
We call it AP, Pandemico.
Yeah, exactly. The AP era. Yeah, there you go.
It's like the
We should reset the calendars, right? Like Jesus got a calendar reset. Come on now.
So it was great. But here I am. I'm back. I'm fine. The bride got COVID almost immediately after. The groom, took a few days until they caught it. My sister-in-law got it. I got a couple of nieces who got it. My mom got it. Most of them are basically recovered at this point, but my mom isn't smelling stuff right. So it's real. Like people are acting like, oh, it's over. And I'm like, oh, we went on one trip. We had a lot of time outside. The wedding was like, it was set up to be like, it was a big open indoor space, and then a lot of time outside. Yeah, it was
supposed to be AP. It was supposed to be AP booked, right? But it just isn't there yet.
We're not. It's not after. It is still a thing. Yeah. And the thing is, long COVID is like, I don't want to lose my sense of taste and smell for a year or two or permanently.
Yes. So my mom also recently got COVID. My mom also recently got COVID, got hit with it pretty hard. She's okay, and she was kind of like really fucked up for a couple days. Mostly, said her throat just felt like it was shards of glass in it at all times.
Did they give her the medicine?
The meds, yeah. She got the good meds. Plus, she was vaxxed and boosted and all that. But that's what I'm saying. These are vaxxed and boosted people who are still getting hit.
Well, that was the thing. So, like, some of the people who got sick, so I was boosted. I got the Omicron boost. And I didn't get it. And I'm wondering how much it was that. But I got my boost like 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks before I went. And my mom got a boost also, but she waited until a few days before, like 3 or 4 days before, which I think is not enough for it to have an effect. So I think that might have been the difference. But if you get the Omicron boost,
well, they say the boosters take effect after a couple of days. They say they're a lot faster, but I don't know. Okay. But you're right. There might still be immunity building. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think any of us know. And that's the problem too, is I just think we're committed to the AP era, but we're not there.
Well, and I was in the airport, and I was masked in the airport, in the plane, and there was, I would say, less than 5% of people in the airport were masked.
Just denial. Now, Cliff, I got to be honest with you. I think Christianity is a death cult. And
life is a death cult.
But that's what I'm getting at, because it's like I felt like I got out of that, and I'm finally able to call that what it is. But now I even see the secular world, and they seem to be moving into the mass denial, right? It isn't religion doing this to us, but there's something pulling people to overlook the elephant in the room, right? Because we want to tell ourselves the comforting story or something. What's up?
I think people are overwhelmed by something they don't feel like they have any control over. And I think it's that simple. I think it's just people go, I got to live my life. What am I gonna do? I got to live my life. And it's just like,
so they just toss their hands up and say, we'll just roll the dice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get it eventually. The problem with COVID is, one is long COVID, right? It's not like getting the flu. You get the flu, you get better, and then you're better.
Right.
Right. And then the other thing with COVID is you can get it again and again. And again, and every time you get it, all the data is saying right now, from what I've read, every time you get it, the likelihood of getting long-term symptoms gets worse. So it's not like, well, I got it, so now it doesn't matter anymore. It's like, no, you got it, and now it matters more.
And you're right back in, and you're right back in it. That's what my mom was feeling like. Yeah, you're right back in it. Now, Cliff, I got to be honest with you. For me, it has felt like those things have not been worth doing. So for me, I take most of the stuff off my social list, right? The movies, the restaurant, certainly church. Those things have been not on my list of things to do for exactly that reason. where are you at in reflection? Because I've missed the family weddings and all of those things because of it. But where are you at? Because it hasn't felt like it's worth it to me.
So I have been to 2 weddings this year. One of them, and I kind of like in retrospect, like I could see where people were like, "Oh, that's too much," but like in retrospect, I'm like, "No, I think it was right." So the one I just went to, which was pretty much like, it was like a normal event, like nothing to it. And the other one was, it was all outdoors. They had, these people were very like aware. They had put off their wedding for 2 years already, right? Because of COVID. And it was outdoors. They had it in a tent, but everybody had to take a test and had to take a photo of their test, like the morning, like every morning they had people take tests, and you had to take a photo of the thing before you
really
and send it to them. They wanted it. Well, it ended up that the groom, his family got really pissed off because his dad got COVID, and they had him sitting off somewhere on the side, and they ended up leaving the wedding without saying goodbye, like without nothing. They just up and left. So, and
everybody else still got it.
No. Nobody got it. Everybody was fine.
Wait, I thought you just said there was a wedding and everybody got it.
That was my niece's wedding just this last weekend.
Oh, you're talking about the first one? Nobody got it.
The first one was fine.
Because they shut it down. They tested. They did the whole protocol.
They tested, and if you were sick, then they asked.
You got isolated.
It was everything was outside for the wedding. It was at Kellogg Research Center. And there were like cabins you can rent out there, and even in the cabins, they had air filters running the whole time.
Yeah,
they bought and rented air filters so they could have them running in the spaces. The building I was in, it was me and Mike Weiser. Mike Weiser was in like one half of the space, and I was in the other half of the space.
Fuck, man, these are my peoples. Yeah. Guys, some of these guys know, but Mike Weiser actually trained me in the LNCA lab, and then also the Avita Ed video that I've been working on. It's a Mike Weiser video. I'm replacing Mike. So Mike's a mutual friend of ours. Brilliant scientist.
If everyone's tested every morning at the event, then it's like, well, you're good. You're golden, right?
Yes.
Because like if you're not showing positive, you're not going to be transmitting.
Yeah.
So if you're not transmitting, then everything's copacetic.
Yes.
But even if you had it, you're not transmitting.
Yeah.
And so then you're pretty safe. But if somebody is transmitting, well, then they at least have to wear a mask, or they got to stand 10 feet away from everybody.
Right. My dad went to Notori Naughton. She's actually a pretty famous actress and singer, and that wedding was similar, right? It was, first off, it was like crazy luxurious because these are celebrities. So it was huge money. Everything's outside. Everybody got a private car, Cliff, with a driver, right? So it was that. So they could do all of that, right? Most people can't do that. All right, but now fast forward. So that was actually safer then, you're saying, because the precautions were all in place. Even though it was COVID, they were doing it COVID era. Now we're trying to do it AP, and this isn't working.
It was 4 months ago. It was in August.
Okay, but they were still locking it down pretty serious.
Yeah.
And now, but this one is no. We're just letting it fly.
Right. It was, it is what it is. And it's just like, well, yep, there we go. It's still a thing.
Yeah.
Look, at a certain point, every winter there's the flu. Every winter people die from the flu. And we could say, oh, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to do anything because I can get the flu. So I get it. I get that there's a certain, like, well, what are you going to do? But at the same time, like, I don't know, there has to be, we have to be reasonable. And I think that, look, I have people over from time to time.
Sure.
I've had a couple of like things I try to, I know who the people are. I try to be reasonable. If anyone feels sick, don't come.
Right.
But, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough call, right? And there's no end in sight. I think that's what's got people overwhelmed. All right, so let's take a look at this code here, or our results here. I guess we should just pop open a Explorer here. Like we should have snapshots. Yeah, so let's just pop open an Explorer. It would have been easy to just type it. All right, so we'll pop open 6,000. Open with LibreOffice. Okay. All right, let's see. Everybody's eating food too. We could already see that, right? Let's see. Which means they're probably not cross-feeding. Let's see. Data. Sort. By shape. Okay. Boom. -1. All right, they went all the way to -1. Easy to get to.
Yep.
And then they go to 1 around 500.
A few little muties.
All right.
Those are new mutants, almost certainly.
All right. Preference is spread.
Well, sort. They're pretty much sort. You did sort by shape. Okay.
Yeah. So 3 or 0. Yeah, they're doing a little bit of everything. So much more diversity. But then it looked like they were only eating 2. Well, let's go check that out. This fucking crashes on me all the goddamn time. Yeah. I figured this was gonna happen. Actually, you know what though? I just got an Excel license. Boom! Look at us. Okay. Cliff, where's that little thingy at? But do you know how to do that little window split trick?
No, I don't. I don't know where it is.
Oh, you only know how to do that in LibreOffice? Boom, let's do LibreOffice then.
No, but we don't need it. We can just.
Oh, we could just sort, right? Data. Yeah. Let's see. Excel, this is a joke, right? All right, here. Sort the data. There we go. Sorted on shape. Okay. Thanks, Mom. My mom hooked me up with that Microsoft Office, y'all.
Interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, good.
All right, now let's go check out foods. See, nobody's eating food 1, nobody's eating food 3. Everybody's eating food 2.
Well, go down.
We'll see, yeah, but I'm pretty sure.
Yep. All right, so nope. Nope.
What?
So they're just not playing our game.
They're not. These guys are like, nope. They're just like, F you guys.
So the thing I was saying before, if the thing is, if you have, look, if you can come up with a strategy such that you get a score, every one of your offspring will get a score of 0.5 every generation, versus a strategy where half your offspring will get score 1 and the other half will get score 0. The strategy where half the offspring gets score 1 and the other half gets score 0 is going to win. Because those individuals who are getting 1 are the ones who reproduce. So there's already a benefit. The variability is going to make the variable strategy the one that.
But it cuts off half the mating pool.
Yeah, but that half has twice the fecundity.
Yeah. So what? I don't. So what are we? Because we know that. Because I think we. So here's my issue. I think we know the code is working, right? I think the issue is we got to figure out.
We don't know that. We know the code is working for part of it, but we don't know if the code is working for all of it.
What I mean is, like, we know they're doing shape correctly, right? I think we know they're doing choose correct. Like, I can print out all the steps where they choose, right down into those. Right, that's what our debug code is doing, right? So it's showing me every step of the way under the hood. Oh, she's picking on 2. Here's their score for 2, right? And then she picks this guy. Now that she picks this guy, here's his score and his shape.
We know all that's working. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's not the hard part.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Is like, where's the... So what do you think? Like, what are you thinking in terms of like what we would need to address, I guess?
Well, I mean, it may just be that they're not playing the game, right? It may just be that they're not finding the strategy. So okay, go into the
I'm
world.
wondering if it's just the thing.
No. I want to do something.
You want to play around? All right, yeah, sure.
We're asking them to do a lot, and we're not giving them the right incentive. So screw it. I got to go soon, but let's just give them. Let's just hit them. Let's just hit them where it counts.
All right. So, you want me to be in the settings world?
Your population size, your population size is 1,000. So go to that world size versus 8x8. We're gonna just change a couple things.
Okay.
Make this. Hold on. I've done this enough. I should just know it off the top of my head. Make the world 40 by 40. All right. Yeah, let's make the world 40 by 40. And then food types is 3, that's fine. Initial food distribution is -1, that's fine. And then scroll down. There's a thing that says like group, evaluate group size or something. It's a little bit up, you passed it. Nope, you went past it. You went way too fast. Slow down. There it is, group size.
Oh, world group size. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
1,000.
All right, what is this, Cliff?
This is going to evaluate everybody simultaneously.
Explain this to us. Tell this to us.
So if what we were doing before was each agent got dropped into an 8x8 world independently and ran around and played its own game. Now each agent is going to get dropped into, like all the agents, all 1,000 agents are going to get dropped into this 40 by 40
space. Okay.
At the same time, and they're going to be running around together.
Wait, what's the grid size at 40 by 40, by the way?
1,600.
So there's 1,600 spots, 1,000 organisms, and so there's berries and people everywhere. This is shit just got real.
There's only 600 open spots. But now if everybody eats red, the red are going to be gone instantly.
Okay.
So they gotta mix it up.
Okay, see, Cliff, you should have told us, man. You should have told us shit's about to get real in Berry World. We need these deets. All right.
I've been doing some work this week, but
all right. So, all right, this is great. All right, so what else do we need to? Thanks. What else do we want to change?
Run it.
All right.
Run it.
Mabe. Oh, really? You gonna play me like that, Mabe? Like we're not friends? Like we don't know each other like that? All right, here. I know the command. It's Mabe F settings. All right, hopefully I saved all that correctly. Let's do it again. All right. We've got him doing some funky junky up in there. What are you working on this week, Cliff?
I'm working on a new world. I did some work actually in.
Do you want to show me? Do you want to show us stuff, or do you just want to tell us about it?
No, I don't want to do either.
You don't want to do either.
You don't get nothing from me.
All right, but you said you were working on stuff with Barry World.
Well, I was working on doing phylogeny visualizations.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Which we unfortunately won't be able to use because we're using sex. So, meaner, but it's for asexual.
Yeah. No worries. All right, so do you want me to just sit here and let this run, or what?
Yeah, until they get fitness at least.
Okay.
They're getting the two every once in a while so they have a brain.
Yeah, they're not doing much. But yeah, this is cool. And you've actually have ways, you've shown a little bit of this, right? Where you can actually you can visualize even this, right? Where you can visualize the agents and you can trace them as they're moving and eating and all that stuff, right?
I'm very smart, yes.
Yeah, but it's cool for me to see that shit. I'm sure our audience will get a kick out of it too. But yeah, they're just sitting here. They're still not eating, I don't think.
Man, they keep trying. They keep taking a step and eating another food and getting lucky.
They're bopping around and reproducing.
I was gonna say maybe kill this and start it with a different seed.
Apocalypse Now. All right. Let's go to the seed is just in settings, I think. Let's go see what's in here.
No, it's just do command line.
Oh, the command line. Oh yeah. Where do you put that random seed command?
Dash P.
Dash P for parameter. Global. Like that.
Yep. Dash random. Global. Yeah, it's not all. Oh no, maybe it is all cap. And then random seed camel case. Which I think it's called snake case when it starts with a lowercase, but I'm not positive.
You call what case when it starts with lowercase?
It might be snake case.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got you. And then put it in here, right? Like 201 or whatever.
Yep. Or 102, but whatever. Oh, never mind. Okay, snake case has underscore between them.
Oh.
I knew it was a thing. But...
There is probably a name for what's essentially camel case without the capital up front.
That's camel. And then there's Pascal case, which seems to be everything is capitalized. And then there's kebab case, which is, I see, it's got a dash instead of an underscore.
All right, so wait, what starts with the leading lowercase?
Camel case.
What starts
evidently with the camel's facing away from us.
Oh, what starts with the capital? What's camel case when you capitalize the first letter?
Pascal case.
Oh, I see.
For whatever reason.
Nah, nobody likes to eat. Well, there's also different shit going on too because there's other organisms around them, so they're moving, right? Like there's.
Well, I mean, they're not moving though. We got a 3. That showed some potential. What kind of brains you got plugged in here?
Markov brains.
Is that a question or an answer?
No, it's an answer because I remember that was a thing we looked into and I checked before I did my runs. But you see him here in settings organism, Markov, yeah.
All right. Interesting. Why are they not learning so much?
Because I was watching them. That's why I clipped. That's why I pulled the screen down so that I'm not watching them.
I watch mine all the time, and it works just fine.
That's what's they're shy. Yeah, they probably just need some time. Also, do they learn faster? Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I'm like, do they learn faster if some of those berries are bad? But then you got a whole nother thing going because then you got the poisons going on, and the goal here.
I mean, in mine, they're speciating like almost immediately. So I think the reproduction must be getting in the way of them being able to figure this out. Because reasons.
Because sex just breaks things.
Yep.
That would be interesting. So should we potentially? No, we need. So we've done stuff with shape. So we're not even having issues with shape. And we're not having issues with color. The issue is trying to get them to do both simultaneously.
In theory. I mean, now this is a little weird because I've been running stuff and I haven't had any trouble, so I'm wondering if we have a weird setting lingering.
Well, I could always try rebuilding it. I just wanted to see, because I'm always like, everything works, right? So you don't want to go breaking code that seems to work.
Yeah. No, I mean, if anything, it would just be a little weirdness in a settings file. But it's just something we were doing that made sense at the time.
Got you. Wait. Oh, they just took a big break. Oh, they took a break to print out the snapshot. Snapshots always cause those pauses. See, Cliff is already into the gather vibes here. This is what people do in gather. They just sit back and work and do their thing, and then I'm responsible for magically creating original content on YouTube. This is why you guys got to get in gather, because y'all know I have a very passive aggressive relationship with YouTube at the present moment. Cliff, the freedom, we could literally do anything we want in gather. It's just for some reason people still want to watch YouTube videos, so you got to make YouTube videos to convince the people that they should really be in gather.
Yeah, no, I don't know the people.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Hidden nodes.
What about hidden nodes?
That was just the comment from Harley's Quinn.
Oh. Yeah, well, hidden nodes 3, that should be enough for this task.
Oh, which is actually Stupid Her Energy / Jay's Clown Girl / Trump's nuke codes.
That's a lot. That's a lot going on right there.
Well, as a man of many names, I like a woman of many names.
All right, I'll take it.
Cliff, what's up with these brains?
Oh, they're dumb.
They're pretty dumb.
They're not the smart ones.
Guys, there's berries. Eat them. They will make you strong, which will in turn make you sexy. This is really not that difficult, gang. People tell you evolution makes things smart. You'd say not always.
Nope. Not when I'm watching.
But then somebody's going to get that spark. One of the bright kids figures it out. Gets the attention of all the other digital organisms.
Oh, it's hopeless. It's hopeless.
They don't even have types.
It's hopeless.
Now, what do you think would happen if we typed them? We talked about that last time too, right? Potentially typing
Well,
them.
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't want to do that, right? Because that undermines the actual question.
We do that, and then we've defeated the whole purpose of the. Nope. Yeah. No.
It'd almost be better. That'd be better as like a post hoc control to be like, oh, look, when we type them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know what. Go into the settings. Let's kill this garbage. Go to the settings, CFG. We're going to change the optimizer, and we're going to make sure this is actually working.
All right, let's go settings.
You got it open or already up there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. All right,
Go to the optimizer and change it from tournament to roulette. Well, make sure that you got roulette that you're compiling. But
that's in the
Oh, can we change the number of parents to 1? Is that no? That's not an option anymore.
All right. So how do I have to make sure? No, I don't think I have this. I have to
recompile.
Yeah,
we have to recompile. So go back down to your window.
Okay.
Go back down to your text window. CD ... Edit your. Oh yeah, I guess you didn't have to go here. Edit your modules.txt.
Modules.txt. That's the file I was thinking of. Boom. It should be here. Let me make sure that's in the right.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. You're fine.
All right. So now we're going to go to optimizer. Yeah, and we need to add roulette.
Yeah.
Actually, let's do this, right? Where we would say include tournament, but
that won't actually do anything because we're gonna have to change it anyway because setting files won't automatically update. But that's fine. Just leave it as
okay.
Save this and then ./mbuild.
Which is the official command of bong hitting all across the virtual evolution world.
Oh my god.
Cliff, I know about these things. It turns out I'm one of the top 10 virtual evolutionary left-handed biologists under 40 on YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Fucking big time, basically. I've just gotta keep my sub count above Mike Weiser's, and I should be good to go.
Oh boy.
All right. So, all right. What are we looking at now? Our settings file should be different now. No, we got to make new ones. Bye. Everybody, go away. I do not know thee. All right. So, hang on. I know how to do this. Now we're gonna do. We're going in this. Oh, Cliff, do you want to? Let's just do this in work now, right? Because that's where our new Mabe is.
Yeah.
And then we should do that.
No. Stay in.
Oh, you want to move it?
All files are still there.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just go to exp1. Then we're gonna copy up a directory, work, Mabe, and we're gonna copy that here. Is this the right command? I think, right? Copy up a directory, work, Mabe here. Cliff.
Yep.
Hang on a sec. upper directory /mabe text file is busy. Something's wrong with this command. Copy upper directory.
Oh, it's still running. Kill. You got to kill the one that's running.
There's one running?
Yeah, in the other tab.
Oh. Gross.
Oh, but they done learned.
Oh, I told you they don't like being watched.
All right, so they done learned. Okay, fine. So let's see what did they learn.
But now we broke them, right?
Well, no, we haven't done anything.
All right, hang on. We're about to get to 10,000. We're about to get to 10,000.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Just stay tuned.
Come on, guys. I believe in you. They did it. They're printing a snapshot.
Of course they are.
Beautiful. All right. Now, let's go ahead and explore all up in this experiment 1. Boom. All right. And you see that file at 223. That's the one we want. Let's go ahead. I should have actually opened it in discard. Nobody cares about those files. Nobody cares. Cancel. Just go. There you go. Do that. All right, now let's always do that. There we go. Data sort by shape. All right, now first thing is, I don't think they're doing all the foods, but all right, shapes. They definitely did. They figured out shape. -1 and 1.
Oh,
with some stragglers.
That's fine. That's what we expect.
Always some stragglers, some mutators.
Look at the food.
I knew that was gonna happen. I was playing with fire. I shouldn't have tried to open that and with that.
What you're doing.
I was being. Here's what I need to do. We're gonna choose another app.
You're a madman.
I know.
Crazy.
I know. I was living on the edge. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're gonna sort this data like a responsible person. Data sort by shape. All right, now let's go ahead, and you can already see foods. Let's see foods. Well, let's see preferences. Preferences, they're doing 0, 1, and 2.
This is sorted? Yeah, this is sorted.
But then these guys all do 2. Interesting.
Well, we saw something like this before. Well, no.
So they all do 2s. And then you get some 1 up in here. And some 0.
How does this correlate with
And then foods, they only eat 2.
Well, scroll down.
Yeah.
You're only at 300.
Yeah, now we're down on the other side. And yeah, everybody's still only eating 2.
All right, well, this is broke.
Although they haven't figured out the crossword.
No, they can't do as well as they're doing if they only eat 2.
Yeah, they're not.
There's something busted. Did you?
All right. We done broke it.
Yeah.
We done broke it.
All right, I gotta get back to work. I don't know what to tell you. It's busted.
All right. So where do I start? So we're gonna start with the new optimizer?
No, I don't know. No. I mean, the world's broken. I don't know how they can get that score without without eating different foods. The problem is there isn't enough food in the world for them to do this. Only a third of the food is going to be food 2.
Right, so they shouldn't be getting scores that high without...
They shouldn't even be able to get a score above 1 on average. The average score should be less than 1 because most of them shouldn't even be able, or more, some number shouldn't even be able to find 1, and the other one should really only find 1 on average.
Okay.
So there's less than 1 food 2 per individual, and they can't replace, well, that's not true. A third of the food 2s will replace with a food 2, and then a third of those will replace with a food 2, and a third of those will replace with a food 2. But that's going to diminish.
They're secretly mining slave brains that eat all the red and vanish.
Yeah,
so that I know. We'd have all these low-fit individuals.
Well, I mean, what we should see is they should split up a third. I mean, here, I'll all right, fine, you done.
But you done forced me to show data.
I mean, here, I'll just show you what's supposed to happen because I worked on it over the week. If I can. Nope. Would help if I didn't click on the share screen in the shared screen.
I love Harley Quinn's comments. She said, this is like the matrices. All I see are numbers, but JC's blonde, brunette, redhead. Exactly. That's what this is, Sir Cliff and I.
All right, one of these is my. Oh, I see. I'm sharing this screen down here. Is that what I'm sharing?
I'm telling you, I am literally seeing.
You gotta pop up my
oh
screen
yeah,
here.
The matrix of digital baby making.
Here's the poop. Let's see if I have a good. I may have to regenerate the image. So I did a bunch of work on Friday. Let's see if this is a good one. So what this is, whoopsie, it's not going to work. This is a phylogeny of Berry World with 3. This happened to be with 3 foods.
Okay.
So as we scroll down.
Oh yeah, hey Blue.
Come on, you can. Oh, is it updating for you? Okay, there we go. So you see, there's red, green, and blue. These are 3 asexual species that are specialized to red, green, and blue. And so, like early in the run, there's just one. It branches pretty early into red and green, but the red and green, they can't get high fitness because until there's a blue eater, they quickly consume, like the whole world is blue. And then as soon as a blue eater shows up down here, then the red eaters and green eaters can do a lot better because the blue eaters are producing red and green, and then everything's like in balance.
Right.
And then that's stable. That's like permanently stable.
Yeah, because now they've figured out their little rock paper scissors game.
Yeah. And so this is population size 700. So this is sort of comparable running. Now I didn't run this with sex. Obviously, if I run it with sex, I'm not going to be able to split its phylogeny because it's going to be a big mess. Right. But I kind of expect that they would figure this out, and sex would just kind of be, because this is so much more important to getting selected and then getting into the LEC. You would figure that they would figure this out. So I'm a bit surprised that they haven't.
Yeah. And what I'm wondering, is it a thing, like a statistical thing? But you'd expect to see this in almost every run, I guess is what you're thinking.
Well, no. I am seeing it in pretty much every run.
No. I mean in my stuff.
Well, I don't know. Sex may be screwing it up because crossover may screw this up. But the thing is, I don't know how they can get a score of 22 if they're not. Are you sure you're looking at the right files?
What do you mean by that?
Are you sure you're looking at a file that's like a new file? Let's try this one more time.
Yeah, I did. But because remember I read the time off before I opened it. But go ahead. What do you want to try again?
No. I just want to show the run again.
That same file?
How do I stop sharing my screen? I don't even know.
You don't need to in Gather.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, so what do you want me to show over here?
So we're looking at snapshot data 10 Show the window where it's still running.
Oh, they're done.
Oh, it got there.
Yeah, that was 10,000.
All right, well, let me see that. Yeah, how the hell are they? Yeah, they can't get to 12. They can't get to 12 unless they're playing the game.
So do we not rebuild no, we shouldn't have needed to rebuild, right? Because we just changed settings files.
No, but we didn't change anything. We're it's all about the world. The world simply should not allow these scores to happen. So I don't know what's going on. All right, I gotta go. I don't know what to tell you. I gotta go.
I don't know.
I'll think about it.
All right. We'll get back together on Wednesday and think about it. And then I guess that'll be fine. Okay. All right. But yeah, I'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks so much.
All right.
I'll see you later. Peace out.
Bye.
All right. I want to thank Cliff for joining me. That was super fun. What? All right. All right, guys. Let's discuss all the very important things that are going on today. Oh, whew. All right, so I don't have a meeting with Mike. That's cool. And what else is there? Oh, I think I have a meeting with Rob at 5, which I decided I'll go to because we're working on the video stuff, and I just had my midterm, so I want to play Pinochle. Let's just be honest. Today's about playing Pinochle because it's my day off. It's Monday, so don't throw stuff at me. But no, really, I need to relax. It's like my day to relax and chill. So we're gonna play some Pinochle. We're gonna figure out what to do between now and when I meet with Rob. And then tonight is all about Pinochle and the Pinochle Lounge. I think Uncle Bobby is going to join us for Monday Night Football around 8 p.m. So that's it, guys. I gotta get people into the routine that Mondays are really my light days. I do have a couple meetings. I've been thinking hardcore about not having my meeting with Rob today, but I think I'm going to take it just so that I don't have to have another one later in the week. That will be that. Promote the vote. Oh, yeah. Cliff can send me his environment files. Yeah. That's not a big deal. Also, we have default environment files. I think that might be what we decide to do is change the optimizer or stuff like that. We'll probably just do some basic stuff. I might even poke around with some of that this tomorrow or something. I was kind of up for coding, but I'm like kind of good that we're not, because it's good to just... It's my Monday. I really should chill. All right, let me pull up something. I do want to do some podcasting stuff. Oof. All right, yeah, okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna head probably to the Pinochle Lounge when I get back. I think James Apperson is still alive. So
they're people now. They're very secular.
I'll be right back. We're gonna check out some James Apperson real quick.
You just can't get through to these Christian religious fundamentalists who don't understand history and don't understand psychology and sociology. They don't understand their own religion. They don't understand the religion that they tried to replace, right? All kinds of nonsense. So here's a video explaining how the Bibles themselves are not against what Hitler said and did. They're not. the
All right, guys,
Christians who are against genocide.
Appreciate all of you. I just need to take a quick pee break, and I'm loving the new theme. It was really fun to get in here with Cliff. I've been working so hard over the weekend, guys. That's why I'm really excited to just kind of relax today, play some Pinochle. But yeah, also we're gonna have more time for gaming. I need to get back into gaming and making music, making videos. We've got a lot of cool stuff to get into. But I worked really hard this weekend on new themes. So I don't know. I think we've got like 5 new themes or something. This is one of them, the Spaceman theme for my main man, Jewish Space Laser, who I got to get back up in his little perch. I had kind of converted the studio over to work on the Avita Ed video. But yeah, appreciate everybody. We're going to do a little James Apperson real quick, and I will absolutely be right back in a minute.
Now, in order to accurately present and discuss what I'm talking about,
thanks for all your
here,
great comments during my time with Cliff. Really appreciate you guys.
Without telling you who I'm quoting, because I think that it'll be familiar enough that you'll recognize it as something that many people have said. So choosing just one person to pin this on isn't what I want to do. But for the sake of accuracy, I will quote directly. Now, forgive the speaker the start-stop nature of this. He was on the radio at the time. What do you think about that example?
I think maybe we'll call in. Maybe we'll try to talk to James.
Does our moral revulsion at those concentration camps?
That's always a good thing to do with this time.
Is that because there's an objectively real fact about the matter that treating people that way is wrong? Say Hitler had won the war, and we now lived in a society where, because of that and the propaganda, everyone believed that anti-Semitism was good and gassing Jews was fine. Would that mean then that was simply conclusions, I'm going to take the liberty of interpreting the quote as an argument for the Christian God as the answer. Okay, it was on a Christian podcast. So that's where I'm coming from, because as I say, I've heard exactly this.
All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry, technical difficulties. My internet connection lagged out, and I'm really going to figure out how to fix that. So let me go back a bit. Here we go.
Example, the concentration camps of Nazi Germany. Does our moral revulsion at those concentration camps, is that because there's an objectively real fact about the matter that treating people that way is wrong? Say Hitler had won the war, and we now lived in a society where, because of that and the propaganda, everyone believed that anti-Semitism was good and gassing Jews was fine. Would that mean then that was simply the morality that we accept? Is morality simply, at the end of the day, what society thinks about a matter? Or would it still be wrong, even though nobody thought it was wrong? Would it actually still be wrong because we can be wrong about moral facts? And if that's the case, does that suggest that there is a moral dimension that isn't part of our natural world, that somehow transcends it? Could this be the evidence for God? Now, to the speaker's credit, it's worded as a series of questions. But since we've all heard this worded less rhetorically and more as a series of facts and conclusions, I'm going to take the liberty of interpreting the quote as an argument for the Christian God as the answer. Okay, it was on a Christian podcast. So that's where I'm coming from, because as I say, I've heard exactly this kind of what if Hitler had won as a very strongly argued case for what amounts to Christian theism from many people. So the Hitler thing, it's very interesting. It asks you to imagine our society excusing or agreeing with the Holocaust. All right, imagine anyone doing it. In our real world today, obviously, they'd be pretty much an extremist and certainly an outcast. I mean, what kind of crazy, awful, dystopian world would this be if we all thought that way? Well, let's investigate the hypothetical scenario in a little more detail. The first thing to picture is that in that world, we wouldn't condemn Hitler for having done what he did. That's a basic part of the analogy.
Quick programming note. Harley's Quinn, we are going to come up with one more scene, or at least one more scene. I need to do a whole theme for horror games. We've identified a really dope horror theme that we're going to make just for playing horror games. But yeah, let's get in here with the James real quick and see what's up.
Having carried out the Holocaust. Try to imagine hearing Hitler being praised as a hero of the 20th century by someone that you admire. Now, I'd say that not everyone would be an enthusiastic fan of Hitler. The extent of the killing might still be off-putting to some, but the illustration does ask us to imagine that even the lily-livered, bleeding-heart lefty liberals of the world would at the very least have an acceptance of the Holocaust having been carried out. It would have their support as having been the right thing to do at the time, even if they wouldn't want such a thing to ever happen.
I'm trying to think of what I should do.
Remember that a view of Hitler any more critical than that would put people over the line of being considered an extremist, at odds with the prevailing moral sense of this imagined society, every bit as much as the opposite is true in the real world. So everyone would think that the Holocaust had been right, and at the very least necessary and justified. That would be the nature of the propaganda that the speaker mentioned, which would most likely be based around an argument that the Jews had deserved their genocide. The facts backing that up might be a bit tenuous, but the narrative would be something along the lines of how back in the early 20th century, things had gotten so bad, or were about to take such a serious turn for the worse, that drastic, violent action against Jews had become appropriate, and murdering them all had become, at the very least, a necessary course of action, and that Hitler had done the right thing in following through on it. Now, I understand the point that the speaker is making, because to me this does feel like a less moral world, whatever meaning you give to that word. It just seems wrong. Our whole society celebrating or even excusing the Holocaust simply because Hitler had won does seem to violate something very basic and even primal. And as the speaker suggested, does that indicate that there are incontrovertible moral facts? In condemning the Holocaust as we do in the real world, are we drawing on an objective morality that is never subject to human opinion? Or is our moral aversion to the Holocaust something that we came up with ourselves, and perhaps partially because Hitler did in fact lose? But it seems deeper than something that we just kind of invent, doesn't it? So where does that morality have its foundation? Outside of humanity? Maybe. In a god? Well, I've said before in previous videos that I'm happy to go there. I'm open to being convinced, but as yet I'm not conclusively convinced. And despite the thought that's gone into these questions across the centuries and recently, as much as I'd like an answer, I'm resigned to sitting in the I don't know camp on the issue of objective morality. But this illustration and the questions that it raises throws up some things that I do know. This dystopian world that we're looking at is a hypothetical. As remarkable and discomforting as it is, doesn't it look strangely familiar? Do we not actually live in such a world now? A world of people looking back into history and making excuses for massive genocides? Justifying the murders by arguing that they were necessary, and rather than condemning the people who carried them out, instead looking back to them with admiration and reflecting that the peoples who were wiped out had actually deserved it? Well, it should be very familiar. These are exactly the kinds of responses that Christian apologists give when confronted with the barbaric Old Testament genocides carried out on their God's orders and with its help and in its name. Oh yes, they'll tell you genocide and mass murder are bad. Absolutely objectively immoral. That's how come we know that the Holocaust was immoral. It's just that in, say, the case of the armies of the Israelites going through the Promised Land, killing every single man, woman, and child that they possibly could as they invaded city after city, well, genocide was actually morally justified and necessary. The people who were killed did actually deserve it, so it was okay to totally destroy them. It was the right thing to do at the time. The military leaders who carried out those invasions were actually heroic, people to be remembered and admired, not condemned. So much so that you could even read your kids bedtime stories and sing them little songs about the heroism of these particular genocidal mass murderers. There's nothing immoral in what they did. See, these genocides have to be viewed in the correct context to be properly understood morally. And if you see a problem with any aspect of them, then that can only mean that you're looking at them out of context. Right? You've heard all this before, haven't you? Faithful believers excuse the hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of deaths carried out by violent extremist Israelite military leaders as having been uniquely justified and necessary, the right thing to do at the time, perfectly morally permissible. But hold on a second, in the hypothetical Hitler analogy, aren't we asked to imagine a society that excuses millions of deaths as having been justified and necessary, and to ponder what a messed up idea of morality it would take for a society to do that? The hypothetical Hitler analogy mentions the power of propaganda and asks whether military victory and propaganda could be all that would be necessary to twist people's thinking towards having them agree that genocide was moral. Well, apparently the answer to that question is yes. Yes, they are. Just ask 1 billion or so Christians and they'll tell you what they've had drilled into them repeatedly, that invading city after city and utterly destroying everything in them that breathed was the right thing to do and was completely justified. They'll go along with this explanation and yet look with horror and disdain at a hypothetical society that, without a firm foundation for its morality, could have its morality swayed by mere propaganda towards, excusing genocide. Christianity, you are and always have been that group that's been brainwashed by propaganda into excusing barbaric acts of war and violence. You don't see it, do you? You ask us to imagine a culture that excuses and justifies appalling injustice, cruelty, and violence without realizing that you are describing yourselves. You paint a startling picture of a population that's had its morality hijacked by the victory and propaganda of a sadistic mass murderer. Well, you are a population that has had its morality hijacked by the victory and propaganda of a long list of sadistic mass murderers. Men who are simply the Hitlers of their own day, just with a different ideology and less effective weaponry. Right? Allow me to replace just a few words of the example to demonstrate where Judeo-Christianity fits into this. Say the Israelites had won the Promised Land wars, and we now lived in a society where, because of that, and the propaganda, everyone believed that destroying all of those cities in Canaan had been good, and that utterly destroying everything that breathed had been fine. Would that mean then that that was simply the morality that we accept? Is morality simply at the end of the day what society thinks about a matter? Or would the invasion and conquering of the Promised Land still be wrong, even though nobody thought it was wrong? Does our moral revulsion at those bloodbaths, is that because there is an objectively real fact about the matter, that treating people that way is wrong? All right, I'm calling bullshit on this. Having Christian apologists imply that not basing morality firmly in theism as they do could lead to a terrible moral degeneration into an unrecognizable world of moral chaos in which even genocide could be excused and tolerated. Geez, apologists, imagine that. I'm also calling bullshit even more emphatically on something that I guarantee is going through the minds of none too few believers who are listening to this right now, and the very thing that will no doubt dominate the discussion in the comments, even though I'll knock it on the head right here. It's what happens whenever a non-theist implies that the murderous violence and brutality of the Old Testament are, quote, immoral. The theist will demand that we name the standard by which we're judging the morality of the Bible. The implication is that as non-theists we can't, because we apparently don't have one, because we disbelieve in the only possible thing that could qualify as one. Therefore, our morality must be this flimsy, subjective, cultural, negotiable thing that shifts all over the place at the whim of society. So we lose and we have to stop making any kinds of ethical or moral judgment on the contents of Scripture because our moral judgments have a poor foundation or no foundation. Well, look, if you argue that way, let me tell you this very clearly once and for all. Whatever basis a non-believer has for calling out the acts of the Old Testament genocidal warlords as appalling, barbaric, and immoral, it's automatically a better and more reliable standard than the one that you're using to justify them, because yours is entirely circular. You're using the Bible and the morality inherent in the Bible to judge the morality of the Bible. Using the God that ordered genocide as the standard by which you judge the morality of genocide is exactly like someone in that hypothetical example justifying Hitler's actions by saying that they were okay on Hitler's moral standard. Would you accept that logic? Of course you wouldn't. The whole point of the illustration was to point out how bad a basis for morality that kind of thing is. And it's all you've got. The Bible is the only thing that you could really turn to justify those genocides, though, isn't it? You know why? Because the Bible presents a morality that justifies genocide. Not much else in civilized society does anymore, does it? Look, bringing up Hitler's attempted genocide or those of Stalin or Mao or Pol Pot does not play out in the favor of a Christian view of objective morality against an atheistic or secular one. You guys worship a God that you claim ordered and encouraged kings and military leaders to do things that Hitler and those guys, in a way, simply perfected. Moses, David, Gideon, and Joshua all gave it a pretty good shot, wouldn't you think? And perhaps you ought to admit to yourselves that if they were recorded in Scripture as having killed as many people as Hitler managed to, you wouldn't all of a sudden decide that they were evil mass murderers. You would admire them no less than you do now, and you'd praise God for the mighty power he displayed in destroying his enemies so thoroughly. Before you start lecturing the secular world about where we need to look to establish a basis for morality, why don't you come up with one that isn't fundamentally hypocritical and circular? The illustration draws upon this innate sense of morality that we all seem to have and gets us to think about where it comes from. If you're a Christian believer, let me encourage you in all sincerity to just admit to yourself that your commitment to this book puts you at odds with your own inherent sense of morality. In this video, we've mainly looked at genocide because that's what the quote brought up, but just have a quick look at some of the other disgusting inhumanity that fills the pages of this book that you've been taught to consider holy. Give credit to that sense you have that tells you that no matter the context, hurling rocks at an adulterous young woman until she dies as a result of it is nothing less than obscene, barbaric cruelty. Then think about how you actually feel about burning people to death. Where does that deep inner conviction come from that tells you that that kind of thing is wrong? Was it placed there by God? The same God that explicitly ordered that people do these things to each other? Are you seriously going to argue that? Even if morality is grounded in a God, this God, the Judeo-Christian God, is clearly bullshit. One simply doesn't need to have a well-defined alternative explanation of a basis of morality to know that this one is an absolute failure. One simply needs to be honest with themselves. I'll conclude by once again suggesting that we leave this insane, fundamentally confused book out of the 21st century discussion of morality and ethics. It's part of the problem, not the solution. Because as we can see, if there's a worldview that leads people to excuse and condone appallingly cruel behavior, it's not atheism. It's theism.
So there we go. That hit even harder than I intended it to hit. I forgot how much ground that really covered before I pressed play. It's been a while since I actually seen the whole video. If Hunter Biden's laptops is still here, I did drop the link earlier, and you're still welcome to join. So are other people if you really want to. So that's where we're at on it, right? And just so that we're all clear, when fundamentalists make these arguments against atheists, they are preaching hate. They are trying to tell you and everyone that might overhear the conversation that atheists can't be trusted, right? That there is something fundamentally vacant about their moral compass and their moral character. That left to their own devices, they would divulge, if they haven't already, into being monstrous people. And we need to make sure then that atheists don't have any power, right? That they don't have any privilege in society, that we keep a close eye on them, that we do whatever we can to fill their hearts with God, just for our own safety, right? Who would think of the children? So that's where they're at about it. And I'm like, look, so here, Non-Stamp Collector took a few different positions than I take. I'm not neutral about what morality is or where it comes from. And I suspect that after all these years, he's probably not neutral anymore either. I'll bet he's not. I bet if you talk to him now, he's got it sorted. But he was like in a transitional phase, like a lot of atheists go through, where they still got to work through it, right? So, and, with all that in mind, he went a little bit further than I would go with theism as a thing, right? Because theism, as a larger category, isn't about the Bible, right? There's lots of theisms that have nothing to do with the God of Abraham, right? And so it's very important, I think, when we talk about these matters, that we don't conflate general theism with more specific ideas, right? Like Christianity. And also it's important that we don't conflate Christianity as a general concept with fundamentalist Christianity, because there's this big giant spectrum of ideas and attitudes and preachments and behaviors, right, that fall into the category. Now, don't get me wrong. By wearing the label, they lump themselves in with each other. And in doing so, they forfeit all right, as far as I'm concerned, to complain about being lumped in. They lumped themselves in, right? They all stood under that same damn banner, we are Christians. they don't get to complain when you make a statement about Christians that doesn't apply to theirs anymore. They don't get to. Fuck them. But because I'm only responsible for me and for my choice to be completely responsible in the way that I use language, I choose to differentiate anyways, even though they don't deserve to be differentiated from. I choose to differentiate. Right? Choose to be more fair for them than what they're willing to be for themselves. And say there's a difference. The label's meaningless. Let's ignore it. Let's talk about the real issues, and let's talk about who's really guilty of those things. Right? So I think we lost Hunter Biden's laptops. I don't think he stayed with us. But I'm going to go ahead and press forward. I don't know who's still watching and who's not, but according to this, I got 5 people who are still. If anybody catches any like really popular streams that compete against mine, I can close mine out. Let me know, because like if Mythvision rolls something out, I'd rather talk about them and then phase out and come back later. So let me know. So in the meantime, scrolling back down. Christianity caused the Holocaust. Same as it caused the earlier Holocaust of the Native American indigenous nations. Same as it necessitated and worsened the American Civil War. Now, at this time, they didn't really have what we today would call progressive Christians. There was hardly anything like that going on. There were individuals that leaned in that direction because they've been heavily influenced by secular ideals, but a large portion of Christians having a special demographic of progressive Christians wasn't really a thing yet. And here in America, especially, that idea really didn't catch on until the Quakers started to turn the tides about slavery, because they had been influenced by secular values. So, today, flash forward to today, it's a very meaningful category of Christians that we have to responsibly differentiate from fundamentalists. But back then, it was just individuals. Most of them were conservative fundamentalists, and that's just the way that it was back then. So, same as it carried out witch hunts, crusades, inquisitions, and countless other atrocities. Same as it continues to be the primary driver of LGBT suicides, even among children. Looking back to learn from actual history, since all Christian and Islamic culture are also mafias, of course they ended up in a violent turf war with the regimes that they helped build, right? Because if you help build as a violent regime based on violent Christian ideals, but you don't manage to hold on to that power seat yourself, right? If your Christian cult doesn't manage to hold on to power, then there's a power vacuum, and it's going to be filled with somebody else who fits the bill, who meets that criteria, right? And so you have a society that's been cultivated for magic.
Testing your speakers on StreamYard. Have a great show. Testing your speakers on StreamYard. Sounds like they're working. Have a great show.
This song is brought to you by Kelsey and Presley and StreamYard support. Have a great show.
Was what they fed upon every day. That's what went into their consciousness, right? And so that's what they looked for when they got older. And as a society, they're like, well, we need a leader that behaves these ways, thinks these ways, speaks these ways. And so someone took the reins of that society, that mentally enslaved society, that slave-minded society, that authoritarian, fascist-minded society, and said, okay, I'll lead you. And they said all the religious things the Christians had been saying, except from a non-God position. Just a vague sort of magical spiritualism and special divine powers without using the G word.
All right, gang, BRB.
And people like, hey, cool. Because this new government mafia didn't want to be confused.
Also, let's get some alcohol.
Right? We're not going to share power with those guys. We don't want to be confused with those guys. And so they didn't use the G word so they could set themselves apart from the Christians. But they still invoked all the same ideas other than that. And so them the big new controlling mafia under Stalin was like, well, now we got to get rid of the Christians because this is a turf war, right? Like, we can't be competing in our own land for who's going to be in power. Like, we just got to quell this shit now. Now, there were better ways to handle it. There were non-violent ways to resolve the problem, kind of disarm the Christian mafia so that Stalin didn't need to be violent and awful. But Stalin only knew how to be violent and awful because he'd been raised as a Christian fundamentalist, and because that's the culture that he was in. That's the personality that he had. And so he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to start killing some motherfuckers. And that's what happened, right? So Christianity built the monster they lost control out of, and the monster tried to eat them. That's what happened. And in the meantime, guess who stayed out of it? The humanists, right? That's who stayed out of it. So number 5 in the conversation that I was having with this guy. Oh, hey, Nidimus, glad to see you still here. Derek is scheduled at 6. All right, I'll keep an eye out. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, wait. Dave's already waiting in the wings. I didn't see you either. Sorry, Dave.
Hey, James.
How are you today?
I'm super duper. How you doing?
Alrighty. Well, I don't know if I'm lagging or if Dave is lagging, but so I'm going to come back over here to the blog. Number 5, he says, I know you think Christians belittle you. And of course, I nowhere in my reply to him did I say anything about this shit, right? Anywhere. So he's telling me what I think because that's what they do. So I'm like, only when they preach, but I never take it personally. And this is important, right? Because when they preach, it's not about me specifically. And then I reedify, not taking it personally, because I knew where he was going with this. I knew he was going to try to accuse me of playing the victim card, like I'm personally being persecuted by Christians, right? Because victim card's a big issue in Stoicism groups. This is where this conversation happened. If you get labeled as someone trying to play the victim, then everybody looks down on you, and then the other guy like wins the moral victory in the Stoicism fan group, right? So I knew that's where he was going with this shit, but I never even alluded to these issues. But so I'm cutting it off at the pass right now, telling him I never take that shit personally. And still later on, he ended up reaccusing me of it. Of course he did, right? That's what they do. I'm like, no, but they don't belittle me personally. They belittle everyone, right? Which is at least very efficient. So, Dave, if you do come back, shout at me, and then I'll shout back at you. Number 6, he says, but they don't. And I'm like, wait, Christians don't ever belittle or oppress others? He's like, have you ever actually been to Earth or a church or a missionary trip? Ever picked up a history book? Ever even watched the news? Right? To sit here and tell me that Christians have never belittled or oppressed anyone? Like, holy shit, these ideas are core to the religion. Number 7, it's anti-theists who write a constant, never-ending stream of books attacking religion. So I'm like, look, let's put this in perspective, right? Various writers with various expertise were finding accurate and warranted faults. That's all they were doing. And only about specific concepts, attitudes, and behaviors. Now, some of those were unique to religions, and some of those are just worse because of religions. But that's what they chose to write about, right? So they're not saying that somebody who cares about other causes shouldn't go write about other causes. They're not trying to take from other domains at all. There's people out there writing about why we shouldn't abuse animals. There's people writing about why we shouldn't abuse children in different ways, or why how to take better care of whatever, or navigate the world in other ways. This is just one small corner of the human experience with writers writing about specific things, right? They're not trying to dominate anybody's paradigm, right? They're just saying, hey, there's not enough people talking about this particular problem in society. These are real problems with real consequences that are affecting billions of people. Let's talk about it, right? That's all they're doing. So, as I say, it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Someone's got to stand up for integrity if our species is going to have a chance to finish growing up. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. If you always think there is a hover parent watching, you'll never find the opportunity nor the courage to outgrow that dependence. Those writers weren't attacking any person nor any literal deities. They were trying to liberate everyone through civil, courageous, constructive dialogue and education. Oh, wait.
But I had a great childhood. I had great parents. I went to a great church. I don't have, nothing bad. And I don't believe.
I'm getting lots of echo.
Jay. Did all the normal things, I had girlfriends and I went to prom, and, Nope. And then they'll throw at me, well, you just saw a YouTube video, and I'm like, nope, I predate the internet.
Right.
And just none of those things apply to me, and yet I still don't believe. So I'm a tough one when they throw any of those arguments at me. And again, I understand that people have, bad experiences, and my heart goes out to people, especially, things in their childhood and everything, and but I just didn't have that. I went to church, and we had a very progressive church. I was in Cub Scouts. My parents were involved. Nothing funny ever happened to any of us, because our parents were always around. I had a great childhood. My parents got divorced, but it wasn't until I was just about out of high school or something. They still remain friends, and stuff. So, I mean, I don't have, and I don't mean to say it, again, I have feelings for everybody, but I don't have a hard luck story. I didn't have, why are you doing this to me? I wasn't praying, why me or anything, and my prayers unanswered or any of those kind of things, so I just wanted to chime in that, when, a lot of these things that you were talking about, and I understand they can use it against people, you know what I mean? I can understand that, well, yeah, because you were abused at church, so you hate God, or, and it's, you can say it's a legitimate argument, but none of it applies to me. So I always ask them, why don't I believe, and what would be different if I believed? And that usually stumps them, because I'm happily married, that really bothers them, I'm Joe average guy, I have 2 kids, my kids do great, I raised 2, I get compliments, my boys are polite and everything, and on down the list. None of it applies to me. So I throw right back at them. None of your arguments work. So what do you say to me?
Right. Yep. That makes sense to me. That's why in my blog, when he tries to make it about that, I avoid talking about myself, and then I cite Sam Harris as the example. I'm like, Sam Harris basically had the same life as Captain Dave right here. Like, it's the same kind of thing where he didn't have an axe to grind. He didn't have any traumas to work through. He wasn't angry at religion. It was none of that. He just noticed. Now, I'm not sure what brought you into our sphere of discussions in your journey, Dave. I don't remember if I ever asked you that before, but with Sam Harris, it was seeing the trade towers fall and realizing that this is what it's built up to, right? And then he really started thinking about all the evils in the world and how much religion plays a part in that, right? Not exclusively, but majorly. And then he's like, I think we need to have these discussions.
I was making a delivery to the power plant in Monroe, Michigan, when it came across the news that the planes hit the towers.
Yeah,
I remember exactly. I had the radio on in the truck, and yep, I remember that exactly. No, my story is, I always saw religion, and I can't remember. Somebody did an interview, and they said basically they were sitting in the church as a child, looking around, thinking these grown adults really believe this stuff, and that's when it hit them. And that was always kind of me, that I didn't really realize that people took it so seriously until I got older. Going to church was just something you did, right? Again, I'm in Joe Midwestern United States, okay, and that's just something you did. You as a family, you found a local church, and you took your kids to church, and you would go to Sunday school and everything. It was just something you did. So I did all that. And I have no ill will against anybody at the church either. They were progressive. It was a Methodist church, United Methodist Church. And this is in the 70s, okay? There was many different stripes of people. Everybody was invited, okay?
Yeah.
And that was, a lot of people don't understand, but in the 70s, you had neighborhoods, and everybody had their own neighborhood. So generally, your neighborhood was what you saw at church, right? But not in my case. I had a diversity when I went to church.
Nice.
It was, everybody was welcome, and that's what I thought church was. You know what I mean? It didn't matter who you were. You church doors were open. You come in. Hey, welcome to church. And it wasn't until I got older that I heard about, hate preachers and people not being welcome at church, and stuff. And I'm like, I had no idea. And I say Ohio is still Bible Belt. I mean, it's very red, right? Mm-hmm. And there's, I've got 2 churches I can walk to right up on the corner. They're everywhere. But I just assumed that it was more, church was something that people just did. And it was like a family thing you did. It was time where the family could do something together. Everybody, back in my day,
sound okay. I haven't used.
We're going to talk about us old folks. A lot of things on Sunday mornings were not open.
Oh, I didn't realize I had the.
They didn't even sell liquor. You couldn't buy alcohol on Sunday mornings.
Right. That had to sound like
it was. Shit. Yeah, the world kind of.
Oh, that's where that echo was coming from. The echo was the fact
and
that
everybody went to church.
I got
everybody took a breather, and for a couple hours, you had the communal thing going on, and that was my understanding.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah, I was blown away. The hate preachers, the people taking things way too literal, like the creationists and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was always like just some really fringe things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got older that I said, wow, people really take this serious. I just grew out of it. It was once I got older.
This is actually nice for production stuff too, because I can get the.
You know what I mean? You reach. Everybody reaches that age as a teenager or something where
pull up on
it's not cool to hang out with mom and dad anymore. I want to go hang out with my friends.
I actually prefer the wireless.
And you just make that progression.
I have a stand,
and that was my progression.
I don't know where I put the stand.
I started hanging out with my friends. We would go places.
I'll grab it. I need it.
Chase girls. where are the girls at? Off we went, and it was just that progression. And then, like I tell people, I put my toys away, so I just, and again, I have, the thing I've learned the most
Harley's
is hearing
Quinn
all
is
your
so
stories.
smart. She's out here
And
healing the
that,
NPCs.
like, people that were very religious, people like Paula Gia that were Mennonite, really, really religious. And then they have these awakenings. And they got these powerful stories and everything. I don't have one. I don't. My story is that I don't really have a story. I just outgrew it. So
Awesome.
my thing is that, anytime they throw and I guess that's why a lot of them just don't just give up and stop talking to me, because none of their arguments work. They can't get to me. They just can't get to me. Oh, well, you this and that. And it's like, nope. And like I say, I go down the line and, oh yeah, my favorite, especially with the young whippersnappers out there, is you just saw a YouTube video. It's like, dude, there was no YouTube video.
Right.
We wear bicycles to the library. You know what I mean? They have no intention of, if I wanted to know something, when I was younger, it's wait till mom gets home, take me to the library.
Right. I remember that too. But you and I are about the same age.
Right.
So they've got this whole list of things that are meant to invalidate you. So they went down the list and see, you this and you that. And then Dave's all like, no, none of that's true.
And I have some dear friends that, and bless their hearts, we love each other and everything. And, they, pray for me and, I hope you find Jesus and everything. And I say, well, bless your heart, dear, but all of you are divorced.
Right.
It didn't work out so good going to church. I mean, meeting people through church and the religious thing and everything, and they're all divorced.
Well, sure.
And I'm not picking on anybody for getting divorced, but again, they can't, again, it's like, hey, I got married at church and I said, till death do we part and all that, and, you're supposed to kind of mean it when you say it at church in front of God and everything, I think, that's what Jesus said when he was asked in the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. Can we put away our wives for any reason? And how did he answer? He didn't say yes. He said, hey, you made the deal, right?
Yeah.
It's up to you. I mean, that's between you and God. You said till death do we part. So, you want to get out of it. And I'm not talking about anybody that's had problems or abuse or anything else. No. I'm just saying, again, the arguments don't work.
Yeah, you heard it first here, guys. Directly from Captain Dave. Look, if you're going to get married, write your own vows and say something like, unless you start fucking up, unless I get bored with you. Otherwise, you've made a promise. But, I think it's okay to break those promises. Like, if you outgrow somebody, or not to be abusive or whatever.
But if you're going to be, quote, religious, right? Yeah. Jesus basically said, again, there's loopholes in the Bible. Yeah, if you're being abused or anything, those things are actually in there. Yeah. But, they do give you some rules for a divorce. And granted, I'm not, you're in a bad relationship, get out. But, it's just one of those things that's on and down the list. I'm like, well, and big mouths like Kent Hovind and stuff. It's like, how many times have you been married?
Right.
What does that book say about that? Isn't that a big no-no?
Yeah, they don't follow their own laws.
Yeah, So I can throw back, okay, well, I follow this better than you do. I follow this better than you do. Let's start going down the list in the Bible. How many of these things am I following better than you have?
It's common for Christians to be better atheists than Christians, or for atheists to be better Christians than Christians are.
And then I go to Jesus. I like Jesus. Jesus was outspoken, right?
Yeah.
Jesus didn't like what was going on. Jesus didn't like what the religious leaders were saying. He didn't like what the political leaders were saying. Right. I got a big mouth, I tell people all the times, I'm Jesus and I would probably get along, right? Jesus would probably be right on the stream right now with us saying, yeah, I don't know what
me
the
too.
deal is.
I like gay hippies.
Yeah. The idea that Jesus would be so uptight, and it's like, and again, I'm talking about Jesus stories. The stories are questionable. I think we all agree on that and everything. Yeah. But I'm just saying, from the Bible and everything. Yeah. What Jesus didn't hang out with, the rich and the elite and everything and stuff. He hung out with the people that he thought needed help. What a novel idea,
Yeah.
And then again, a lot of religious people do wonderful charity and everything and stuff, but a lot of them will walk right past a person in need and not even bat an eye. So,
all right.
Just the other day, a guy at the store, hey, you got $1 you can spare, and it's like, no, hang on, I come back out the store with some change. Here you go, brother. You know what I mean? There you go. I did my good deed. Did I pray for him? No. I gave him a couple $bucks.
Right. Yes, they think they got us all figured out, but they don't.
Well,
we do got them figured out, though.
I don't have it like that. That's the other thing they'll throw at you. Well, why don't you take in 50 homeless people? And, it's like, look, I don't got it like that. I'm a simple guy. I got a simple life. I have a small house, small yard. And again, I'm Joe Average, right? I don't got it like that. I can't take in the world and save the world. But yeah, hey man, you need, I was there one day, somebody needed a ride. I didn't know him. Hey, hop in. I'll give you a ride down the corner,
Mm-hmm.
So, that's how you do, you do. Oh, Dave, I'll pray for you. I hope you find Jesus. Oh, thanks a lot. What did you give a guy a ride down to the corner that needed one?
Right.
No, you didn't do that? Okay.
Yeah, I used to have a neighbor that was that way all the time, telling me, I'll go pray for you, find you some Jesus. But, I lived a much more giving and altruistic life than him. But none of that mattered to him. What do you think, Jay?
And I'm just reflecting on all the things I've been through. Like, it's a different perspective because when I was a teenager when 9/11 happened, so I was still like in the very religious portion of my life, and I didn't start really questioning probably until high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate what you guys have been talking about. The other thing I was thinking about for me, it was a real slow progression. Let me switch mics real quick.
All right.
I can tell you for sure that by the time I went through confirmation in 8th grade, that I just did it for my mother. So I know by 8th grade, I was just doing it just because, again, old school, the saying was you needed a place to be married and buried in. So I became a member of the church, and I was married there. It's a beautiful church. And again, I was married by a lady pastor. She was great. Again, progressive, lady pastor was the head pastor. She's not the, a second in line or anything. She was, lead pastor of the church. So, very progressive and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I know for sure because the Methodist confirmation was in 8th grade. So by then, yeah, I was just going through the motions just for my mother. And again, to honor my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that actually all makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a weird journey. So I was religious back then. I think maybe earlier in my life, it was more going through the motions for family and things. And then I think as I got older, almost like with wrestling and other things, I didn't sort of taper off where other people grew out of it. And then I think you had to develop your own identity, right, as a Christian. Because I think that at least that was how I took a lot of the real believers to be. Like, you could go to church from mom and dad as a kid, but as you developed your own personality, you were going to have to, you know, get serious about Jesus for yourself type of deal. So deconverting for me just came much later, and I guess it just made me reflect on how I'm much newer to atheism as a result. But the thing that got me motivated to really, I guess, reach out to the community more was just everything with the pandemic. That was when I started to feel super oppressed, like, holy shit, you know, this religion's just gonna kill us. Like, because we just saw, you know, like, you live through certain things to me, pandemics, wars, natural disasters, interstellar events, right? The dinosaurs were wiped out by an asteroid or whatever, right? I mean, these are extinction level events. And to me, when I saw the church just weaponize the whole COVID thing, I was like, holy shit, like, this is, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. And that took it to a new level. Then January 6th just kicked that into overdrive. So to me, as much as I'm out here trying to entertain and educate and build community because we need each other, I figured eventually I'm hunkered down, right? So in some sense, there's a survival mode. I'm now in, you know, we got to figure out how to live day to day in this current climate. So that's, the community building's a lot of my focus. But I'm in war mode. You know, I'm always in, holy shit, we're fighting a holy war. And if these people get their way, it certainly will be our destruction. I don't see any two ways about it.
And that's what I like hearing from a lot of you people, because I thought I was a voice in the wilderness.
Same, yeah.
For years I heard, Dave, why do you care? Dave, why do you care? I'm like, because these anti-science things are dangerous. They're dangerous. Oh, there's just a few nuts out there. It's like, no, a lot of people listen to them.
Yeah,
it's a problem. It's a problem. And then, like Jay just said, pandemic hit. Who are the same exact people that were saying, I ain't getting no jab. They're on Ken Ham's page.
They were doing the whole thing.
People.
They didn't want to stop going to church. They didn't want to social distance. They didn't want to do the mass. They resisted every single step.
One of the number one comments on his page before he got really serious and blocked me from everything, he got a hold of my IP or something. I got to sneak around on my phone to even find his stuff anymore. But yeah, one of the number one comments all over. I don't know if he keeps his stuff. The new crew has been deleting a lot of stuff, but number one comment: do we have to wear a mask to come to see the Ark? All over the page. Wow. Do we have to? You still have to wear a mask? Well, we're not coming until, you know, we can't wear a mask.
And that
was their number one.
That's their deal, and that's their deal everywhere. And eventually, we gave into them. Even the CDC, like, I'm not with a lot of the scientists. Like, to me, a lot of scientists, I don't trust them. And it's not that I'm trying to sound like a right-wing conspiracy nut, but when the CDC gets up and says, oh, well, you know, we're loosening this or that regulation, we're dropping that regulation, why? Oh, because of what people can tolerate. Excuse you? I thought you were the Center for Disease Control.
Science.
Let the politicians tell me what people can tolerate, and you tell me why it doesn't matter.
What are they doing in South Korea? What are they doing in Australia? They isolate, they shut down that area, and everybody else went on about their business.
Right.
That's the science, and it was shown to work. even China. China had no warning, right?
Right.
They're the epicenter. Everybody else had warning. China was on the news. It wasn't a secret. Remember, they were building hospitals on the news.
Right.
It wasn't a secret. They got hit epicenter. And now, granted, they have the power to do it. But again, they isolated, they shut down a neighborhood, and the rest of the country went about their business. Over here, primarily because of the church pressure. Oh, no, we got to, and then all the people that just had to go to the bar, had to go to the theater. They couldn't stay home for a couple weeks. It's like, gee whiz,
And now nobody's
now every one of them that's complaining about pricing, inflation, cost of stuff, everything else that didn't get your jab, you asked for it. Because again, other countries that handled it well, they don't have the high inflation that everybody's got, the gas prices and stuff. But they did a lot better with not crashing their economies and not having the high inflation rebound from it.
Right.
So they gave up a couple weeks, or hey, my neighborhood's shut down. Okay. And then they went about their business, and everything else did a lot better. But no, we know better. So now, hey, I'm telling them, I'm the guy that say, I told you so. I told you so. The anti-science stuff is bad. Like Jay said, there it showed up. But I saw it long before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but here it is. Yeah. And then again, how do we handle it? Do we listen to the scientists? No. We listen to the religious people.
Right.
And then the same ones now are the loudest voices complaining about how, it's everybody else's fault that all this happened, when it's theirs because they couldn't give up a couple days to stay home.
Yeah. And now nobody will stay home. Now it's getting, James talks a lot about manufactured consent, but it's getting to the point, if you want to observe simple stuff, wearing a mask in a crowded space or indoors, asking for stuff to be drive-through or curbside delivery or whatever, you're now getting a hard time. You're now giving people a hard time for it because the new model is, no, what pandemic? So you want to pick up something at the hardware store. At least before, right, it was, okay, well, if you want to come in the store, boom, that's on you. Put your mask on, whatever, distance if you can, whatever people were trying to do. But then you were encouraged to say, call ahead, order it online, we'll bring it out to your car, whatever, right? Now, I'm made to literally feel like a fucking asshole if I ask for curbside delivery or if I walk through a drive-through or something like that. And people looking at me like I'm crazy. Sorry, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. I'm trying to not get it, but it's this culture. It's no, we're going to do the anti-science thing, and everybody goes along with it. And now you're a fucking asshole if you want to be safe.
There's so many memes still going around making fun of people that have a mask on. It's like, why? You know?
I don't understand.
It's their own damn business. You know what I and they might not get somebody else sick. Oh, they're so terrible. Well, let's make fun of them. I'm
right.
Oh, okay. Okay. And it's just a thing. And then and people used to put these people in their place and say, no, you're wrong, but you've got this whole culture now where it's us against them. Oh no, all the scientists are idiots. We know better. We watched a YouTube video. We know better. It's all a big conspiracy. And by the way, wasn't everybody that got the jab supposed to be gone like last August?
Yeah. We should have been.
We all supposed to be depopulated and alien eggs growing in us and.
But again, that they
magnetized.
But because of that, again, they always find just enough reality to what's the term I'm looking for? Obstruct everything, because they know just enough about how vaccinations work to make vaccination efforts fail. This is, why the vaccine hasn't done what it was supposed to do, because they won't take it. And again, to me, I don't care about these people's freedom. I wanted there to be a law. They made jokes about it. I don't care. I wanted brown shirts. Don't care. Put them in red, white, and blue shirts. Send them door to door, and everybody gets a jab. Excuse me. Show me your vaccination card. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, not much. Literally, folks. I'm gonna tell you something very serious about me. I don't care. I know white people's rights and freedom and home. I don't care. I wanted them to be crippled if you did not take the vaccine. I wanted COVID regulations in place, or go fuck yourself. I literally wanted COVID regulations in place, or you can't shop here. You can't go to work here. Oh, there's a vaccine. You didn't take the vaccine? Cool. You're not allowed in anywhere. And if it just made it easier to just say, hey, look, we're going to send just like you do with them. Everybody, count how many times an election person has knocked on your door in the last couple of weeks. Is anybody under 5 or 10? Anybody at all? Probably not. So imagine if the same thing happened, except it was somebody to make sure that not only were you vaxxed, but you got your regular booster every 3 months. If you're going to sit here and tell me white people are going to cry, I don't care. Forced vaccinations would have been my policy. 100% forced vaccinations just would have been, and also I'd have been on some China shit with the isolations. Oh, is there 3 cases in your village? Shut everything down. The virus has to dictate how you move, not people. Go ahead.
I think it was Sadhguru that spoke out and said, we shouldn't have to tell you to go get your shot. That's where we're at.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there.
Why are we telling you that that we shouldn't even have to do that?
Yeah, what all these commercials for and stuff, right?
Yeah, where's the mentality of, and like I joke around, if the cure for cancer came out tomorrow, you're going to have the same group saying, you can't make me take it.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think they should be allowed to vote unless they got their vaccinations.
Yeah, I'm with that 100%.
Yeah,
because any of these things could have been leverage points, and we didn't use any of them. Any of these things could have been leverage points. If we made vaccination a requirement to vote, every right-winger would be vaccinated tomorrow. They'd be pissing and moaning on their way to Rite Aid. I really don't care. You have to understand war. People are going to weaponize. You got to fight back. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, with the whole the politics and the war thing going on, it's who's a big patriot. Who's the side saying they're the big patriots? The ones not getting the shot. Now how does that make you a patriot? How does that make you care about the country and your neighbor and everybody else, that you're such a patriot that you're going to walk around as a germ factory? I don't. That's the mentality, that you can be as anti-patriot as possible. No immigration. Forget that we're a nation of immigrants. We don't want no immigrants here. And we want to demean every minority group and everything that's against everything that we're supposed to be the patriots. And then people go, yeah, they're the patriots. Right. Yep.
Immigration look at is the ideal. I was born here. My ancestors were forced to be here. What are we doing rejecting the people who choose to be here?
It's the bizarro world thing, that you just can't believe the things that are so makes the whole polarization thing just reinforced, over and over until they just start believing nonsense. This, it just, and like I said, when they had a lot of the things come out like polio vaccines and all those things and stuff, people lined up. Let's go. You're getting your shots, right? You're getting your vaccine. You're getting your sugar cube. You're getting the.
You know me. I was on Google.
You're getting the scar on your arm.
Oh yeah.
How many of you got the scar?
Yeah.
How many of you got the scar on your arm from the shot? The little circle. I got the circle scar right here on my shoulder.
So you was getting them old school before they made them all nice and neat.
Yep. And then complaining about military and everything and stuff too.
Yeah. Also, can we speak on something real quick? And I need Captive Dave and James to speak up on this too. What is this whole jab culture? Okay, you're afraid of needles. I get it, but let me tell you something. By the time you have the thought of, is this gonna hurt? It's already over. To describe it as a pinch is an overstatement. I mean,
and I'm
it just
I'm
isn't
a big wuss.
painful.
I'm a big wuss. I have passed out when they were drawing blood. Okay,
right, this isn't drawing blood or nothing like that.
But
ain't nothing
but I mean the needles.
Going.
It's the needle. But like you said, for getting a shot, I got my flu shot. I got my COVID, my boosters. I got my shingles vaccines.
Yeah,
they're all those teeny tiny. It's like it's like the size of your ballpoint pen cap. That's
folks.
It.
They're so good at this.
Little needle on it.
Yeah, they're so advanced with this. And here's the other thing: is like, folks, let's get nitty gritty. Even compared to drawing blood, which is drawing blood is painless, right? But the biggest thing about drawing blood is, they got to find the vein. And they do have to insert that needle, right? Because it's a tube. So they've got to find a vein. They've got to actually insert it, right? And then they've got to drain your ass, right? So they've got to sit there and fill their tubes of blood. But it doesn't hurt. But what it is that needle does have to be inserted, right? And you've got to sit there and they've got to hold you in the position and blah, blah, blah. Y'all, the COVID shot ain't none of that. It goes in not even nowhere near as deep as a blood draw needle. It's just not even comparison. It's literally they just find your brain and your little vein and they put it barely underneath the skin, y'all, and then they press the little thing and it is over. Oh, it whoop whoop. Boop. It's like you don't even have time to feel it. By the time you would feel something, it's over. And you don't feel anything. So I don't even understand. Is that not a part enough of the messaging? They're just coming out now. Look, you don't really want to be a wuss. Trust me. If you're afraid of this shot, you're a fucking wuss. Trust me. This is the easiest of easy shots. I don't know.
There should have been an ad blitz. And yeah, commercials like that you can't put on prime time, but your MTV type channels or whatever you want to call them could have all done those kind of satire things. Like, what are you, you big chicken? You big chicken? Come on,
fill a couple with saline solution and inject a few puppies on national TV. I mean, because it's such a painless procedure. I mean, literally, it's amazing people are worried about this shot.
Yeah, but it's a culture. It's with the climate change. You can go down the list. It's all the anti-science culture, and it's dangerous. It's like you say, not just that, but the climate change stuff too. You've got Trump at every rally on his little blitz he's having here the last couple of days, talking about that green energy will destroy our country. That's the message.
All right, so James,
I have no idea what that means, but that's the message.
Where are you guys at? Because I'm trying to drive everybody to the polls today. Today is Souls to the Polls Day. What's your messaging for people on this? Because to me, James, and I don't know where you landed on the fundy definition. I had a meeting earlier.
But to me, we're at war with a particular type of fundamentalism. And what I think people don't understand is, and I wanted to touch on this earlier, we were talking about COVID. The lefty, softy, moderate, our stream yesterday, James, was normal Christianity is still a cult, right? Quote unquote, normal Christianity is still a cult. So to me, I don't know that there is a group that isn't fundamentalist, because it's like Uncle Bobby said, nobody's in a cult, right? Literally, like he says, how many victims of rape you know? Everybody. Okay, how many rapists you know? All of a sudden, why does it seem like nobody? They didn't rape themselves. So you almost certainly know perpetuators. It's just a label nobody self-identifies as. So nobody self-identifies as a cult till they're out of the cult. Well, nobody identifies as quote unquote fundy in the way an atheist or a skeptic might use it, because that's a quote unquote bad word. But take the atheist or the skeptic out of the room, put them in a room with each other, and what are they going to do? Argue about who has the most correct fundamental understanding. And that's everybody from your most hate-filled Westboro Baptist or cult, Kool-Aid drinking, Heaven's Gate cult, all the way to your We Are the World, We Are the Children, Universalist. I just want everybody to come to church on Sunday morning and feel the love of Jesus. Even that super lefty, pro-science, pro-LGBT, leftist person, right? They're going to argue it was their Jesus, right? That truly was about the love and accepting everyone. And, yet they who was out sin cast the first stone. And, you're not doing it right. And he was willing to die for others rather than to take power for himself. So they're going to take all the stuff that we love, and we're saying, okay, you're the cooler, hipper version. We like your Jesus. Your Jesus is apparently going to make some of y'all a better person. But if we leave y'all alone, you're still going to argue that is what? The fundamentally true, correct, and most right way to be a Christian. So again, you're going to tell us, atheists sitting here, that you're quote unquote not a fundamentalist, but I bet you if I leave you in a room full of other Christians, that tone will change. So where are you at on that, guys?
I have friends that are very what I would say Jesus-y, and yeah, they're not hateful people, beautiful people, loving people. One of them's a nurse, caring people, does her thing for humanity, loves Jesus. But I tell her the problem is you still have that book, and unless you're going to get out the shredder or the whiteout.
Right.
Right. You can't get away from that. Yeah. So yeah, there's like you said, all Jesus-y aside, if somebody has a question, what are they going to do? They're going to go back to that book.
Back to that damn book. Yeah.
And then they'll even go back to Old Testament, which Jesus is supposed to be a new covenant, but right away you'll go back to the Old Covenant.
Right.
And start cherry picking around in there.
Also supposed to be new covenant with the same God and fulfillment of the original one. So it's all weird. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I'm with you guys 100%. So, I mean, it's a cult either way, because they've got a central figure, an authority figure who can do no wrong, no matter what he's ever said. And they've got modern people. So Jesus is the cult leader in that sense. But he's a dead cult leader, and so now modern men, fallible men, stand in his place to tell you what he really thinks and how he really wants you to live your life. And then, of course, they guide your understanding to match theirs, and they're just really, really good at making it sound like that's what the book meant all along, right? And it's not. This is why you get thousands of different denominations, and even more fringe independent, because you can make it mean pretty much anything. So you get all these cult leaders stepping up to modernize the cult. So in the meantime, it all is, because the moment they say, oh, well, there's this book and it has all the answers, and even if they're just cherry picking it to say, here's a nice piece and here's a nice piece and isn't this book wonderful, they're going to leave somebody alone with that book and they're going to go do their life. And the person that they leave alone with that book whether it's their own children or somebody they've just brought into Christianity or somebody that's on the fence or whatever. And that person, and this happens in Africa a lot too, like missionaries will go out there, they'll do missionary work to all these like tribal people who don't understand a whole lot of what's going on in the Bible. And they sell these people on some very basic concepts that sound good and wise and righteous, and they get these people all hyped up. And so they leave, and then these tribal peoples struggling with English and then struggling with Bibles, they kind of force their way through it, and they take from it what they can, and they end up marrying their two cultures between the superstitious voodoo witchcraft thing they already had and their interpretation of this stupid book with all of its blatant evils in it, and they marry the two. And so that's how we ended up getting big parts of Africa that routinely, even to this day, slaughter children violently, cut them to pieces, because these children are being accused of witchcraft, and Bibles say, do not suffer a witch to live, right? And so they've just married their own ancient tribal culture with all their ancient superstitions with the Bible, right? And that's partly how these missionaries were able to sell them on the idea of it, that it's not a complete departure. This is just a better revelation, right? This is just something that's going to take them further along the path to righteousness.
It's so interesting.
And what
because,
go ahead. Tell people to do is completely outgrow their old stuff, but they just end up merging the two. And so it just creates all kinds of chaos and problems. So even if you just cherry pick the good bits out of it, good bits that you're only able to recognize as good because of the secular enlightenment, right? It's not like God came down personally to say, oh, turn to this page, this chapter, this verse. I like this one, I like that one. God doesn't do that, right?
Right.
They go through and they look for pieces that sound nice based on secular ideals, and then they trick themselves into thinking that a spirit of God has led them to this, and then they ignore all the harsh and awful bits, hand this book to somebody else who then reads the book, takes it seriously, and adopts all the hard, awful bits.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's just a million different versions of cult, no matter how you color it, but they don't want to think about it that way.
Yeah, and the thing you had me thinking about before was that it really is just a cover for the worst of us. And I almost want to humanize it and say maybe that I think that's part of us, right? I always used to say that should is the most dangerous word in the English language because it sometimes gets you to overlook who we are. And we do have that tribalistic, side. And like you said, this is cover. Hey, here's a new way to be warrior-like gods, right? Here's a new wrinkle on Clash, on Clan Clash or whatever, right? Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It still taps into that primal nature. It's what I think is almost good about sports in a way, is that if you see sports from what I consider a mature perspective is, you're gonna go hard. You're gonna, if you're a Dolphins fans, Jets fans can go fuck themselves. There's absolutely nothing more appalling in the world than a Jets fans, right? But if you're mature sports fans and you see a Jets fans drowning, you recognize that football's a fucking game, so you help them out of the water, and there's sort of a healthy outlet for the side of you that needs to root for the absolute demise of other people, but only over a game. Right?
Hey, my brother, may he rest in peace. Something I miss was coming in the door and he'd take one look at me and he would say, "Dolphins suck." And I would say, "Pittsburgh sucks." That was my brother, may he rest in peace. I miss that,
Yeah, but the problem with religion is that it takes that and hang on, we're playing for keeps though, right? And it's that real love for it.
give me a tear to my eye.
Sorry, but yeah, no, I really, that's what and I always feel like, you know, and I get that some sports fan, there are people who just don't get that about sports or you know, disagree with whatever. But yeah, I think that's what's unfortunate about these religions. And again, James, you got me thinking about I don't know, it's the global South or whatever. The fact that again, even when you want to say, well, isn't there this great side of religion where these missionaries go to these places and do all this great missionary work? Not really, because they end up setting people
sneezing
back.
on everybody.
Sneezing on everybody.
Sneezing on them.
Sneezing. First of all, they showed up with a bag full of new diseases, right? And then they just fed us this indoctrination and these harmful ideas. They set them back generations, right? And then for the missionaries, it's really all, oh, I did my feel-good couple years for Jesus. Let me go back to the cult, get that good old elevation and promotion based on my, oh my goodness, I went over to Africa and brought the gospel to black people. And then,
right.
You know, I'm good to go, right?
Yeah.
So it's self-serving to begin with.
Sure it is.
And that's a nice way to put it. They used to say taking the gospel to the savages.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
That's not politically correct anymore, but that's how they viewed it. I mean,
right.
Still how they viewed it.
You don't have Jesus? What kind of savages are you?
Yeah, they still think of it that way, but they know that PR and marketing says you have to use different words now.
And so many of them enslaved in the name of Jesus, and the mercilessness that they, you know, the many lashes seen from, I don't know, it was 12 Years a Slave or whatever, you know, one of them slave movies, right? There's always a lashing scene in the slave movies, y'all, right?
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, it's the master explaining to the slaves, the book says here that, irrepentant slave shall be served with many lashings, you know. How many is many, you know? And then I'm just thinking how many of them must have cried out. And I think sometimes you do, for us even, you cry out in the name of God or prayer because you're just in your most desperate state, right? Where you're tied up to something, you're constrained, you can't move, right? And someone is whipping you, right? And each lash is just, you know, literally leaving a permanent, you know, it's like digging deep into your skin, right? Like in a way, it's like never gonna go away. Like it's right. And so of course you're crying out for salvation.
But Jesus did it. It's a good thing.
But this is what I'm saying.
It's a good thing to be scourged, to have your flesh ripped from your bones. That's a good thing. It's all forgotten. Look at the ones. What are they in? Is it in South America where they walk around scourging themselves until they're all a bloody mess and everything?
Like this doing it to self-flagellation, like doing it to yourself so that you become better and all of this stuff.
Just like Jesus. Look at all this blood. Look at all this blood. Just like Jesus. Isn't that great? So they conflate it with being a great thing. I mean, oh wow, you got whipped? Wow, just like Jesus. You know?
Because I have to imagine otherwise.
It's that sick mindset.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to sell that to yourself as an acceptable thing to do to another person. Like it, whew.
And it's not, you know, like this. They tied rocks and pieces of metal and stuff to the end of those things. It's not, you know, it's not.
Yeah. It isn't just this bare.
Not something you buy at the adult store or something,
right?
You know, for fun. No.
Absolutely.
That's and they glorify it. You know, the bloodier the Jesus statue, the better.
Right. Good.
And if it's got so much dye impregnated in it that every once in a while it leaks a little bit, even better.
And James, you talked about how this is the worldview that justified these things. You were talking about the Holocaust earlier, how they're on the same tip, basically. This is what I don't understand. I just think this is why we've got to try to liberate and help our friends and loved ones out of it. I was thinking about, my mom and even my grandparents. I feel almost a sense of responsibility to do what I can to help them out of their faith. Now, in the case of my grandparents, it very well may never happen, and who knows how tough those conversations are to even initiate. And with my mom may never happen, because I think these people are far too Christian for their own good at this point. But what I'm getting at, there's a certain degree to which it's good that they're the people I think to try with, because it means there's a certain reasonableness that I think they have as human beings. Mm-hmm. I think I can still have the conversation with them of, okay, so let's talk about a magic person being born to a virgin. Right, and there's still enough. I think we can still get through to them. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of people that we actually could get through. I think for a lot of people, even my grandmother. I think my grandmother, as religious as she is, I think, if she ever could find in an alternate universe a non-religious version of herself, she would be happy with that. She would just say, oh, like, that's all we knew. Like, that's what we were taught. Like, she didn't know her father, right? So she is a person who, that God figure was literally the father she never had. Right. Yeah. Then she gets married. Her mother's a church organist. Right. And then she gets married young as fuck to a minister, so that's all a lot of those people know. Right. And so we might be the person, hey, look, I know leaving the island's going to be really rough, and they're kicking and screaming because they don't want to leave the island. Right. But you're like, look, I'm going to walk over the bridge with you. I've been back and forth over this bridge every fucking day. It's fine. Safe on both sides, I promise you. Now walk across this bridge with me. And now they're going to go over here. And now, look, I'm not even saying, and here's what I always tell people. I'm not trying to force people out of their religion, but I'm forcing them to do something different. I am going to try to force you to acknowledge the other perspective and the validity of it. So first off, you got to understand what atheism is really about. That means you can't go around saying people just want to sin or they got God in their heart. None of that nonsense. You got to go, people are unconvinced that God claims warrant belief. You got to get real with these people. It's like,
and atheists do not have to answer where the universe came from.
Exactly, all of that.
Atheists do not have to answer where did life come from. Exactly. Atheists do not have to answer where do morals come from. None of those things. They're not responsible to answer. There are people you can go to for those things,
right?
Like a physicist. But an atheist does not a scientist make. That is one of the biggest conflations they all use, from the slimy to the top-notch apologists.
Right.
The full range uses that same conflation, and it drives me nuts.
Right. Yeah. And then just start from there to just, see what's going on. Now, they could run back over to the church and the Jesus side of the bridge if they want to, but you got to just let them know that we're out here, and that, they got to start to see. And I really do think it's something that people would appreciate a way out of if only they knew there was one. And it's sort of like, I think of it very much like addiction. if you only look at the addiction, you will only see a person who wants drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you get to understand addiction from a sociological perspective, from a psychological perspective, from a chemical perspective and all of that, then all of a sudden you start to see a drug addict as somebody who's trying to avoid withdrawal. Now, once you start to see a person who's trying to avoid withdrawal, you start to see a whole different perspective on the individual's behavior, right? They get high to avoid the negative consequences of not doing so, not because they're looking for it, right? In other words, nobody hates their addiction more than they do. You also start to see the failures in the system differently, right?
Yeah.
All of the failures that are real failures, they're because a person seeking treatment doesn't have a way to get effective treatment and address the medical concerns that the withdrawal are going to bring to them. And that's going to lead them to continue the cycle of using, right? Because, again, if they could get access to the treatment correctly, they would. Because
in our culture, we throw them in jail. That's the problem. We don't.
Exactly.
And the conservatives, they want to throw these people in jail when getting them help would be cheaper than putting them in jail.
Right.
But yet it makes sense to not only, and then you got criminal record, everything else and stuff, when you just needed some help.
Yeah. So I kind of think of religion as the same way.
It's ridiculous.
Like, yes, people seem to be hooked on the high they get from Jesus, right? And it seems to be totally self-inflicted. They want to have a life dominated by Jesus. They want to be in the church. They want this religious identity. I don't see it that way. I often think they're trapped into it. And so wanting what you're stuck with is just easier. And so the wanting it is sort of a coping mechanism. It's like we talk about Stockholm syndrome or whatever, James. It's a pretty good way to go, right? If you're stuck on a plantation, having a perspective in which master isn't so bad and at least you get sweet tea every once in a while is probably better than the slave who just won't accept the reality of the situation and is constantly getting those serious lashings we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. And so for a religious person, they may very well enjoy life outside of the cult better, but they don't know how to get from if you look at it as even a geographic representation, some of them are dead in the middle of the cult. And all they can see in the horizon everywhere around them in every direction is the cult on all sides, right? So they don't know how to get from there to an island with the ocean between it called the safe life as a non-believer. So,
right. That's back to what Hitchens was comparing with North Korea and stuff. People say, why do they tolerate that? Well, they know any better. They do a real good job of keeping them isolated in that little bubble, keeping the outside world out. And for all they know, they have it great. And the rest of the world is doing worse off than they are. So the last thing they want to do is jeopardize their scraps for nothing.
Absolutely.
And that's the same thing with that religious bubble. If you can keep whatever it is, if it's a minority you want to pick on, somebody's sexuality, whatever it is, if you can keep everybody in that bubble and not let them realize, hey,
right,
Jay's black, but Jay wakes up in the morning, Jay has breakfast, Joe's to work,
Right. So you still have
the gay, whatever. Yeah, they wake up in the morning, they have breakfast, they go to work. And as soon as you take that away, then then it's, oh, well, they're just like me. But if you can keep that bubble, no matter what it is, yeah, people think it's way better where I'm at. And it's those out there all have the problems. Those out there are worse than we are. They're worse off than we are. They're the bad people, whatever you can do, as long as you can keep your bubble. And North Korea is a great example of how you can keep people, the satellite images. They don't have electricity on at night. The country is dark. But they don't know that.
And this is why
as soon as if they could get the internet and just get a Google image of seeing the rest of the world has lights on at night, just things like that, they just are not aware of.
That's so wild.
So it's easy to keep them down when they think that, they seriously think they've got it good and Dear Leader is treating them so well. Just like Jay was saying, hey, as long as I get my sweet tea, I'm good to go. Forget that, my neighbors are disappearing in the middle of the night,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Forget that the only picture you're allowed to have up on the wall in your house is of Dear Leader. Don't you dare put a Jay's diploma on your wall. They'll come and take you away.
And that's how a lot of them are. I mean, even in my family, to me, they failed the holiday challenge, right? The holiday challenge was, hey, some of it, I don't want to come home if it's going to turn into a religious thing. The proper response is, yeah, you're right, and I'm sure there's a lot of other non-believers in the family. So all you do is you make the places in your home that are supposed to be, family spaces, not have Dear Leader's image in them. So, just put up a picture of wedding photos, family shits, diplomas, graduations, anything, right? But that is, to them, an attack on Dear Leader. What? How could you? What do you expect the family to just sit and eat dinner in a room that isn't adorned with crosses and memorabilia of Dear Leader's sacrifice and undying love for you? And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I fucking expect. Us family, this fucking turkey in these four walls. What the fuck is the problem? This is so easy. They don't get it.
Right.
It's they don't. Sorry, go ahead, James. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I completely get your frustration with that. So it's kind of an ironic thing that I don't have family to have those discussions with. On the one hand, it'd be nice to have family. On the other hand, man, I sure don't envy all the grief you guys have to put up with.
Mine's almost all gone, so I'm the sad little branch on the tree that's just kind of hanging off there.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah,
the Reaper's got my number, and it was one of those days when I looked around and realized, yeah, I was one of the last ones. I mean, I have my sons and my family, and so, but yeah, they're just the whole branch of our family has just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then losing my parents and my brother, and it's like, the Reaper got my number.
Yeah, and and I don't know if any of us will get anything can happen to any of us, but what I am feeling in my family even is their days are numbered. I think my grandparents have to be 80 plus at this point. Because my mom's got 25 on me. Yeah. So, it's like, I don't know how many more celebrations they have, and now they're in declining years, right? To where, my mom's trying to take care of them.
I got to tell you, Jay, if you can go spend time with them, go spend time with them and forget all the religious stuff.
Oh, I will, but just it won't be around the holidays. But here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I wouldn't, because, my dad and I had some problems about religion, but
sure,
we had a few words and we didn't really speak again until I found out he had passed away. I never got got to say anything, ever to him again. And, I wish we could have buried the hatchet or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So here's the thing.
I always tell people, no matter what your differences are, if you can see a family member, obviously not an abusive family member or anything like that, but yeah, even if it's religious and you got to tolerate with them saying grace at dinner or whatever, it's like, hey, go at least go spend a few minutes, say hi to everybody, and then, make a polite excuse. You have another dinner to go to,
Yeah. So here's the thing. For me,
go see him for a minute.
So for me, it's a couple things. So one, I'm fine with that. Here's another thing people always miss when I have these conversations. I have peace with them. It's just I have so much peace with them. I'm not intimidated, right? I'm the favored grandson who, for whatever reason, has done really well in life, and I'm the one person who's not in position to need to hold my tongue when it comes to these differences of opinion. The other thing is I have to go through a lot to see them, and so I'll do so when it suits me. So it's like if I have to go through this whole song and dance, and I just don't want to do it over the holidays because that's sort of a point I'm trying to make to them, I'll just go some other time. It's not a big deal, and it's not gonna jeopardize our relationship, and they all know that. But here's what I think a lot of us miss, and here's what a lot of us, I think, miss even with our other family members. We always got to start thinking about the bigger picture. It's not always about us. So the truth is, they're running out of time. And they're running out of time to do something that's important to them, which is connect with the other younger branches of the family that are all growing and maturing and are not religious like them. So for me and my mom's still religious. Okay, that's cool. So she's always down, her and her husband, they're super Jesus-y. Okay, I grew up super Jesus-y, so I'm not like that anymore, but it doesn't keep me away, right? The rest of the family, it keeps away, and it always has. So truth is, they're going to die. And when they die, the rest of us are still going to be fine. Right? Because, again, my mom's house is going to be there. They'll be out of the way. All right, cool. The rest of us can all get together. No, everything's going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Right? Or we're going to do our own thing. We all got to, like, when I go to, like, literally, if I go to Jersey right now just to decide to not see my grandparents, there's no skin off my back. I can see everybody else in my family. Right? And that's how they are. So most of the family just literally doesn't see them. Doesn't talk to them, doesn't call them. And the sad part is I have more of a relationship with them, right? And I'm in a different part of the country. The rest of my family is literally in New Jersey, mostly under a half-hour driving distance, certainly within an hour, and never see them unless they're dragged kicking and screaming. Why? Because they want everybody to get dressed up, do the whole song and dance for church. And so if you're in my family and you're a teenager or you're in college, right, it's just a whole eye roll. And so they're losing touch with all of these people who do literally nothing other than come through for a few minutes once in a while. And I'm just saying, hey, look, y'all might want to start to really think about this, because it just, to me, it's kind of sad to watch. So there's way more at stake for them than there is for me. I'm just being honest with them about it. Like, look, you guys got to realize this is a vibe, right? And I think my mom will change a lot of this, right? Because my mom will come in, she'll get them living in a much nicer house. Under her roof, everything will be top notch, super classy, and I'm sure the Jesus-iness will be super toned down everywhere except for probably their like bedroom or whatever. So I expect it to get a lot better. But yeah, it's just kind of sad. Here's the other thing that I've accepted at this, and this is going to be tough for some people to hear. Number one, I just don't. I think when it comes to the cult stuff, I think the relationship over religion thing is a problem because it's something we're always willing to do, but they're not willing to do. And that's what got us here in the first place. What got us here is they've been completely unwilling to put their religion aside and the differences about religion and their obsession with religion and be in people's lives. They've refused to answer the phone and say hello instead of praise the Lord. They've refused to just let their family come through on the holidays without dragging them to church. They've refused to be anything other than insufferably religious at all times. That is the problem. And so continuing to tell everybody else, hey, ignore it because it
was not a good day in family land when my wife has a lot of family, I don't, but they were talking about how great their experience was at the Ark Park, and it was too much for me to bear. And I opened up my mouth about how stupid it was, and I probably shouldn't have done it, but yeah, that was not a good day.
Well,
not a good day in family land, because I was like, it's one, and I just boldly said it. It's like, it's enough with the Bible stuff, everything, and it's all good. You go to church, Jesus, okay, but seriously, you went to my nemesis Ark Park, and you're gonna sit here and tell me how great it is? It's like,
and guys, I'm telling you, my grandparents.
Oh, it was too much.
They're ministers, right? So to give them credit, they're ministers, right? But guys, it's all encompassing. They're not in church once on Sunday. Sometimes they're in church 3 times on Sunday. Sometimes it's from 9 a.m. for Sunday school to 9 p.m. when evening service ends. They're not just there's casual prayer over dinner. There's prayer if it doesn't slip their mind, there is likely to be prayer before they leave the driveway. Like, if we're in a rush to the doctor's office, it might get a pass. But if we're just going to dinner casually, it's going to be, Lord Jesus, we just want to take this moment to ask you for traveling mercies, Lord. And we're just praying that as we travel over the highways and the byways, and don't let grandma get inspired. We might be here for a minute, right? You see what I'm saying? And so this becomes insufferable for people. Now, again, I grew up religious, so I know, look, they go and pray for 30 seconds and get on the road. It isn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? They're going to say, praise the Lord when they answer the phone. The proper response is, praise the Lord, Grandma, how you doing? Right? It doesn't have to be a big deal. But for very reasonable reasons, such as reasons, most family has been really distanced from them. And so I'm like, look, if everyone's going to get real serious about, where they're coming into their senior days and you'd love to get the family all together and rebuilding that family culture so that they could see, we got to talk about, they just need to tone it down a little bit. And I do think it will happen, right? But I feel like part of my role in the family as the oldest grandson, as the bridge, is to encourage them in that direction and say, hey, this is something you really do need to do for the family. And my mom knows this. It's like she just needs help, right? We need help, because this will help everybody feel a little bit more welcome, right? So that people can enjoy their lives. Because it's not going to stop me from them, but it is going to stop the other people. So here's the other thing that troubles me about this. People grow
real quick, Jay.
Go ahead.
Does anybody say anything about your YouTube persona?
In my family, no, not really. No. Yeah, and I've always been like an entertainer, and so they in my family, everybody pretty crazy. So, it's just, it would just be kind of like whatever. But we'll see. I don't think most of them know. I don't think they can watch my stuff. It's kind of like my cousin, like we can celebrate each other's stuff, but like, I don't think they can watch my show, and I don't think they can listen to my cousin's music. So we're both doing our thing, but I don't think most of the people in our family can consume our stuff, except for the cool ones. Like the real ones in the family, they don't care, right? but the religious ones, they just, they're too sensitive. I tried to even show my mom like an Uncle Bobby footage, and I think he was too raw for her. But here's the other thing, James, I want to know what you guys would think about this too. People, it's going to sound weird, y'all. People grow apart in life. And it's almost like dating. There comes a time when the bloom has gone off someone's rose, and you're no longer interested and attracted to that person. And I think for many people in my family, my grandparents have always been that way for them. Yes, they realize that the day will come where they're no longer there, but there's such a small, minor part of their life that they don't identify with. There's a certain honor that they have for them, a certain grade that's your grandparents. So they're going to roll through once or twice a year to say I love you and give them a hug or whatever, right? But that's it, right? And so when they're gone, it'll be, life will not change very much for them aside from those obligatory moments being gone. Now, what's sad for me is that's a shame, because my grandparents are actually pretty great, wonderful people if you got to know them. But they put up such a oppressive, impenetrable religious wall. If you don't know any better, it's just hard to see and relate to, and therefore spend time with the people. Like they don't know the side of me that knows, all my grandmother's different fashions and fitness phases, and how much love she has at just doing crazy weird shit around the house, or my grandfather's love of Westerns, or my grandmother fucking around on the organs in the morning. Like they just don't know them as people, because they've never gotten through that enough to actually hang around with them to realize, oh yeah, they some regular niggas that just like to eat fried chicken on the way home from church once in a while and hang out at the diner. Like they never seen that part of them, right? So, and it's like that window's running out, right? Kind of on all sides. And so that's the part that's kind of sad. But James, it reminds me of relationships where part of what makes you interested in someone, for me, is that they're people who grow. And for certain religious people, if you fail to grow, people might outgrow you. And I've had to sort of give myself permission to say, that's not my fault. And I am trying to make my own effort to correct the situation. I'm recognizing, hey, if I'm going to continue to have a meaningful relationship with people in my life, that relationship has to change trajectory somehow. But it's not my fault to recognize, if it continues on this trajectory, they're just becoming people I'm not interested in. Yes, that means they will die someday. I will feel bad when that day comes. But if it comes on the current path, part of what I will mourn on that day is that the opportunity to change that trajectory has just run out, because we never did it, and unfortunately they never grew. They just, they became those little glass bubble grandparents to me, and I outgrew giving a crap about the glass bubble.
Truth.
I see, and that's another thing. I didn't have religious grandparents either. I mean, my grandparents, they went to church, again, like you do and everything, but I didn't hear all the praise Jesus stuff. It just, my wife had a grandmother that was, saying a lot of Jesus stuff and everything. But, that was something else. I didn't have that. It was everything was very moderate. You know what I mean?
Right. I envy that.
Obviously, the only thing I ever heard from my mother's mother was that if you cuss, lightning was going to get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is nice.
But that's
right?
when we were like,
that was when
we were little. When we were little kids, and then when I grew up, and once I had kids, and I saw little kids around that said, were cussing and everything and stuff. It's like, it doesn't it doesn't look good when a little kid is saying that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then I told my boys, until you're 18 years old, I don't want to hear you cussing unless you got straight A's in English class.
Boom, there it is. Yeah.
And so I didn't hear a peep. And then it was like both of my boys, I swear, the day they had their birthday, I heard the F word come out of their mouth. They had it stored up. But yeah,
that's okay.
Until they were 18, nope, I didn't tolerate it because it doesn't look good. So yeah, you know, maybe my grandma shouldn't have said a lightning bolt was going to get me, but
they didn't know better or how or whatever.
You know, bless her heart. You know, like I tell people, my grandmother used to have a name for everybody in the neighborhood that's derogatory, but she was the sweetest lady in the world.
Yeah, I envy that.
It was, you gotta give something to the times and the age of the people. And yeah, certain things that come out of their mouth, it's like, well, of course that comes out of their mouth, but does that make them a racist or all these things? No, they just had a lot of stupid things stuck in their head, and that's just what people said.
So growing up, I was just going to say that I was raised by people who I felt fortunate to have them in my life because I recognized that they were special people and they did a lot of good stuff for me, but I never felt like they were normal people. And in that sense, I felt like I never had a chance at becoming a normal person because, I always thought it was so cool when kids talked about their grandparents hunting and fishing or just chilling, playing
we played a lot of games.
Or whatever, playing
games, pinochle.
Yeah, we were never doing that. We played a lot.
The whole family would gather around. And we would play, six-way pinochle or whatever?
Yeah, I started to learn six-way. That's crazy. But yeah, we never did stuff like that. And then, even my parents. And so it always felt like you had to be walking on the straight and narrow all the time and doing everything right. And that was the only way to get accepted. And so just everything that was normal was never going to be tolerated or appreciated. So I almost felt like looking back at it, it was like I wanted to escape that pressure, and I envied people who just didn't have to deal with that in their families. James, I need you to kind of minister to me a little bit though, because what do people deal with that guilt, right? You outgrow people, but at the same time, their days are numbered, your days are numbered. You don't want to not appreciate the time you have left with them, right? But you're not interested in spending time with these people the way you used to be. And we feel some type of way about that, don't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, the specifics depend on the specific people involved, what their history is and how their psychology is. So I certainly don't have a one-answer-fits-all idea about it. I have regrets, though, similar to Dave's regrets. I hadn't spoken to my father in 26 years, and he died this past Christmas. And I kept telling myself, I'm gonna make the time. I'm gonna find a way to connect with this guy that is unstable and sometimes abusive. And I couldn't deal with it when I was younger, but I got older and I got wiser and I got more patient. At least overall, and I should have tried, and I didn't. Most of my family on both sides disowned me, anyways, and a lot of that had to do with religion. So, in a way, they spared me the quandary of trying to figure out how to fit them into my life. They weren't there, so it didn't matter. So, I mean, my journey's been unique. Everybody's journey's unique, but every time that I listen to other people's stories, I guess I'm usually at a loss for exactly thinking what they should or shouldn't do. I just know that boundaries are tricky and self-health and self-respect matter. So if you can tolerate certain things in doses, right, for special occasions or once every 3 months or something, then, then do that so that you don't like accrue regret. But if these people are not interesting and can't abide by reasonable boundaries and can't have a sane conversation with you because everything's about the Jesus, then I mean that's tricky. At my mom, I can't have a real conversation with her, so I blocked her at the beginning of this year. I was like, I'm done. And because we went for many years without talking to, because she's an extreme religious fundamentalist and everything's about trying to save my soul and gaslighting me about all kinds of biblical stuff, and like we just can't have a real conversation, and she's just awful. But if somebody's not trying to be awful and they're just boring and disinteresting and annoying,
Yeah, that's exactly. It's more of that.
Care less and less. Like I don't know what you should or shouldn't do. I don't know what anybody should or shouldn't do. But in theory, what I would do is just make token gestures to spend some time around them, right? Like a little here and a little there whenever I feel strong enough to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah.
And then just back out and know that that's all they're going to get from me, because giving more to them is going to be fruitless for everybody. That's my thoughts about it.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, and I think, like you said, there's a whole big spectrum in there. But I just think, for me, it's like you said, the self-care of awareness to say, okay, that's just what it is, right? It's sort of like, I got exes that, at the time where they were in my life, there was no such thing as a life without them or beyond them. Then the devastation of the relation happened, and I never thought I could think past that, and then, now there's just a time when you genuinely don't care as much anymore, right? You're just, it's just a story that happened to me about a thing, and then sometimes now it's like you wish them all the best because you don't even have the energy to care enough to send bad energy towards it. It's just not relevant enough, not affecting your day-to-day life enough at this point.
In a way, that's a blessing because, that means you're going to be hurt less and less by it, or bothered less and less by it, and then say 10 years from now they pass, and it's been so long since you felt close to them, then it's not going to be as traumatic as it would have been otherwise. So, and everything in life's a trade-off, right? That's one of those things. The more you connect with them now, the more they could be part of your life in a meaningful way, the more you're going to hate to see them go, right? And the less it matters, that sucks in its own kind of way. But at least when they finally go, you won't be as close and it won't be as dramatic.
Yeah.
So I would just take it as a win.
I'm 100% with you on that. And
passing won't hurt as much as it would have. And I mean, that's just my thoughts about it. But I'm just talking out loud because it's not like I really know what you should or shouldn't do, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a wonderful perspective, and I kind of feel the same way. And even like for me, it was all very surreal because I remember when COVID first happened, I needed to make sure that they were being smart, especially because being so churchy, you don't know. But they're black people who live in New Jersey, right? So they're solidly Democrat, left leaning. So, they shut down their church. They did their services. I think they tried Facebook for a hot minute, and then they did like the phone conferencing and shit. Because that's easier because they're older, right? So it's easier for them to call into something, right? Instead of whatever. So they did that, and then they didn't really go back to in-person services until, everybody was sort of vaxxed up, and that became kind of the normalized thing to do. Maybe even after vax and boosted, right? It wasn't that long, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, so they weren't being like crazy right-wing Trumpist about it. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's just they eventually started having their in-person services again, small congregation, big-ass sanctuary. They can spread out and shit like that. But I'm still like, this isn't going to end well, right? Right. And it's funny where when COVID first started, I'd accepted, okay, my grandparents are literally the type of people who would die for Jesus like a lot of these other people. And the sort of, my grandparents are those true, because I always in my head said my family's fucked up because Jesus is more important than Jason. And if we're on opposite sides of this holy war, they're on Team Jesus. And it's like, this became like a holy shit. They're literally the type of people who would die for Jesus because of this COVID shit. Oh, okay, but they're not that flavor of Christian, right? But then I still had to sort of, especially once they started going back to in-person services, my mom even told me like it was bad news, like, because she knew I wasn't going to be happy about that, and I, again, had to accept the fact that they were likely going to contract COVID through no other means than going to church. Because, again, everybody was shopping for them and bringing them stuff. They didn't really have a lot of exposure otherwise. And then, of course, they both got COVID, and they both got very, very sick, right? And so I had to then, again, accept that this could be how they meet their end. And, like, I hate to say I told you so, but they're grown-ass people. Like, what was I going to do, right? We all knew this was a possibility, and now this could be exactly what's going to happen, right? So, fortunately, they didn't die, but they both got sick enough that they realized this isn't anything to play with, right? And so that's why I was like, okay, now is when we're going to have the conversation about, you all ready to quit yet? Oh, yeah, but okay. Because first of all, y'all need to quit. And number two, you don't need to be moving in with my mom because y'all dumbass are going to give her COVID, right? So, but apparently I think the plan was for them to go back to phone services. Fortunately, between then and now, my mom, well, I don't mean fortunately, but my mom got COVID and she's recovered. So she's taking it even more seriously. And then I think they just moved in with her over the weekend. So I hope that means either they're, indefinitely doing, phone services or will be here shortly. And, I guess the deal was he was going to try to retire, but they don't want a new minister and all of this, all of this type of stuff. So, to me, I still got to move forward with my life. And the fact that he wants to literally cling on to his dying congregation with every dying breath is just not my responsibility for their lack of personal growth at this point.
Truth.
But we're trying,
Yeah. That's all you can do, man.
Yeah.
Well, and you can't expect the world to change overnight. I mean, it's just
exactly.
It's no matter what it is, it's step by step, and I remind people that the nuns are growing like never before, and that's all around the world. So
James,
right.
Yeah, that's James's thing, this great awakening. And James, we've always started on this conversation where I compare it to the Darwinian Revolution, right? And so here's my point about the Darwinian Revolution. It hadn't happened. And I tell this to people all the time, and it's a bigger critique of scientists, especially evolutionary biologists, than it is of you good folks here on YouTube. But there's this idea of you talk about the Darwinian Revolution as though it's a thing that happened in the past. And I'm going, take a poll of how many Americans still don't accept that they evolved. Okay, put that number on a chart. Until that number's zero, the Darwinian Revolution is something we're still in the middle of. And a lot of people still stand firmly at not convinced. And so, and these people are weaponizing all the stuff we've been talking about, right? So they're a problem, right? We can't successfully vaccinate because of them. We can't successfully do a whole bunch of stuff because of them, right? They want to talk about they need to preserve their history, so they want to preserve the Robert E. Lee statues, but get rid of the, calling themselves primates. So they don't know what that, they're just messing up everything. So it isn't over, and we still need to treat it like something that needs to be addressed pressingly. And it's a mistake to sort of treat it casually because, you know, you think it's all good. And this is what I think is happening with the Great Awakening. Is this going to be something where there's a windfall and we go from, oh, it wasn't even cool to be an atheist, now it's okay to be an atheist, but we're never going to get real change in our lifetime? Or are we going to live to see the day where we get something approaching reasonable levels of representation in the highest levels of government? And I think we're in that sway point where we don't know which way is it going to go. I don't think that's inevitable. If we're going to say the decline, the Great Awakening's happening and you can't reverse it, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, sure. But that's not telling me what I need to know about the pace, James. And I think we're trying to change the trajectory so that we can change the pace. And that's where I'm at with people being more aggressive coming out, because then we get to exponential growth. The more people say, no, I'm coming out today. No, I'm an atheist, a skeptic. I'm on the left. I support free everything. And let's go pro-socialism. And everybody's like, what? That's crazy. But then people are like, but yeah, I'm kind of with them. Yeah, I kind of, you know what? Yeah, I really don't like paying for healthcare, education, none of that. Yeah, minimal. I'm with all of that, actually. Right? We're going to get that rapid growth. Otherwise, we're going to slow trickle this thing through our whole lifetimes. And we could talk beyond that, but I'm going to be dead. So why?
Right. So here's my thoughts about that. You're not going to like my thoughts.
It's all good.
Humanity's not going to be around a whole lot longer anyway. It's just not. So, you know, they're just too slow to change. There's too many people waiting till they have to change before they take global climate change seriously. And by the time we reach the point where they're unable to lie to themselves anymore, where they literally have to change now, it's already too late. Mm-hmm. Because there's a momentum to the whole climate change thing. Yeah. Right? Because even if we stop polluting the environment right now, which won't happen anyways, but even if we all did, we all switched to an agrarian / science / humanitarian economic system throughout the world, it wouldn't change the fact that there's already so much temperature change that's happened. There's already so many thousands of gallons per second of glacial water pouring into the oceans, changing the salinity and the temperature and the light filtration and everything else about the marine environment, which are destroying essential parts of the food chain, which are going to trickle up and devastate fishing lanes and economies. And there's already the ocean levels are going to continue to rise and erode a whole bunch more landmass, and all kinds of things like major droughts and economic or ecosystem changes throughout the world are already, they won't stop on a dime, right? There's already so much damage done. The world needs time to heal, and people just aren't going to, right? It just doesn't matter. Between artificial intelligence and Skynet or whatever they decide to call it when the time comes, and in economic stability and political instability, and people with weapons of mass destruction, like, you know, the Kims of North Korea continue to develop their nuclear weapons, and Iran's working on their nuclear shit, and so it's just a matter of time. Like, there's no way. Humanity's simply not going to exist 2 generations from now. It's just going to be gone. So, you know, your reasons for saying I don't want to talk about what's going to happen 50 years from now are completely valid. But, like, I'm just saying, here's an extra reason why it doesn't matter.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right, James. I got a book by this guy named Nostradamus, and he saw into the future, and we're still there. So we'll be all right. It's
Stephen King
book too, and it's really old. It's really old book.
It's really old.
It's really old. So it has to be true. It has to be true. I have 2 copies. So
Oh, then it must be.
And it's revised. So hey,
Yeah.
I not only I have a revised copy. Sound familiar?
Seriously.
It does sound familiar.
James, I've enjoyed this so much. I have a 5:00 meeting to skirt off to, and yeah, I'll just be. I might be back for some card playing or something, but we're gonna. I think Uncle Bobby might come through and watch Monday Night Football, but we'll be in Gather if y'all want to come through later this evening. But otherwise, thank you so much for having me on, and
thank you, Jay.
Good to see you guys as always. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, Jace.
All right, gang, that's going to do it for me for the moment. I'm going to meet with Rob, and I may come back for a little bit after that meeting before Monday Night Football. Otherwise, link up with me for Monday Night Football in Gather. Thanks, everybody, so much for watching the stream. It's been really fun, and I will see you soon.
Airplane mode. Ready for takeoff?
Whoa. Yeah. Man, this life insane. Got some money, but I always stay the same. But I never fuck with y'all, you niggas lame. If you making moves, you know it's love with me. Yeah, thought that I would change. See, that negativity is not the way. Seen you niggas try to go and run my place, but it'll never ever lead you to my place. Yeah, thought that I would change. Got some money, but I always stay the same. But I never fuck with y'all, you niggas lame. Yeah. Chasing the billy, if I'm in your city, I gotta get paid for the show. Here for a minute, get litty, sip Henny, then I hop right back on the road. This level is nothing, I can't even focus if it don't do shit for my goals. When niggas was gone, I turned to the mold and got us up out of the hole. Look at them dipping and slide. I got them all alive. You see the smile on my face? The merch is sold out for a while. It ain't a nigga out here in the scene like me that could tell you the truth. Took a few grams, got out the jam, the same man, do what you do. Yeah. Got some money, but I always stay the same. But I never fuck with y'all, you niggas lame. Yeah.
Hey, Black Child, what's up? I'm just calling to let you know that I'm happy and I'm proud of what you're doing. You know I'm always going to be your number one fan. As I always say, you can do it. There's no such thing as can't, because you could. But anyway, I'm just letting you know, when you come out, I want you to play my number one song, Shorty. You know I can't sing like you can, but I'm letting people know how you do. Later, love you. Peace out.